I'm going to go live too. Yo, what's up, guys? We are live. Apologies for coming late. Had a pretty hectic day today, but we got Andrew joining us for a little, I don't know, discussion or open panel, whatever it's going to go. How you doing, man?
Good, good. So I thought we were doing this panel tomorrow, but since I was already live tonight, you have an open panel going on. I'm happy to take on any D-gens from your chat or wherever who want to fight or argue about anything.
Oh, I got quite a few D-gens in my chat. I'm sure.
Yes, you do. You do have plenty.
Your background looks totally different.
That's because I'm on my background camera. That way I could stream to my channel and yours at the same time.
Okay. So we can do one of two things. We can just go right into the open panel, or we can react to this Andrew Tate video that just came out and then do the open panel.
Let's just do the open panel. I don't give a shit about Tate.
You don't?
No, he's going. Isn't he going to prison? Is he going to prison for trafficking kids?
That remains to be seen. Not kids, women, but yeah. It's I've been following this story pretty closely, and this is a pretty bad video that came out about him.
Yeah, he traffics. He like traffics women or whatever.
Well, that's the accusation.
Oh yeah, I mean I get it. It's an accusation, but I'm just saying. Yeah, I don't care about Tate. I don't think he's interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, like for instance, can you explain to me, Alex, why he does gay dancing? What's the deal with the gay dancing?
He does gay dancing?
Yeah, look up Andrew Tate does gay dancing and play the video.
Is it on YouTube or where?
Yeah, it's all over YouTube. Yeah.
I have not seen any gay dancing. All right, let me.
By the way, much like John Tranthony, can you explain why it is that this guy Tate came out and said that he would rather have sex with a dude who looked like a hot woman rather than have sex with an ugly woman? That's pretty gross.
I don't want to get into the whole John Anthony thing, lest I'll be sued again. But we can take a look at the Andrew Tate thing. Okay, Andrew Tate, gay dancing. When you hire the bottom G, I guess is this it?
What kind of car you want to drive? Bugatti. And what you want to do in life?
Logan reacts to Andrew Tate dancing.
I've changed my mind about Andrew Tate, and I'll tell you why. This guy can dance his ass off. Look at this. That is not him, bro. He's destroying it. And no one's even saying anything about it. Andrew,
is that really him though? Is that
no, it's not him, dude. Just
okay. That's what I figured.
We're just talking shit.
Eden Ross meets the fake Andrew Tate. Kind of does look like that a little bit. I thought for a second you were serious, and there's a gay Andrew Tate whatever dance thing.
I mean, it's funny though.
There's yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. Have you seen the Myron gay photos
of Tate?
No. You know Myron from Fresh and Fit?
No.
Yeah,
well, I mean, I know who he is, but
there's like photos. There's a bunch of photos and compilations of him like hugging guys and laying on a bed with guys and like just doing like really sus shit.
That's fucking gross, dude.
Here, let me see if I can find it. Myron gay, whatever. Okay, here it is. By the way, I'm not making any claims. I'm just saying this video looks a little iffy to me. Okay. All photos of Myron kissing men go viral. Okay.
Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome, boys, with the laughing emoji. The post goes on to say, here is Amura Verdura. I don't know how to pronounce Myron's name, dog. This caption says, I mean, rabbit hole keeps getting deeper with Myron Gaines, aka, guys, I tried my best before. I'm not going to try to pronounce that name. From Fresh and Fit podcast. This is one of my favorite picks, statistics with facts. So mindless insults like you are gay or you're hurt or who hurt you are your.
There's a few more, but you see two of them there. The first one is like, all right, you know, whatever, maybe just having a bro moment, but on the bed, that's I don't know, it's a little weird. I don't feel like straight people do that.
Yeah, it's gay.
I don't think
if you're laying in bed and a half naked dude is laying on you and hugging you, you're gay.
But maybe he just randomly fell on you. Like maybe he was so drunk that he thought you were a girl, and he like there could be a plausible, potentially straight explanation for this.
Yeah, here's a plausible explanation for it. He's fucking gay. That sounds pretty plausible to me, that if you're laying in a bed and a shirtless dude is hugging you, that you're gay, Alex.
Well, there are a lot of gay dudes in the manosphere who pretend to be straight. So
yes, there are. Isn't that interesting? How many of them there are? There's quite a few.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of how many I name. I would put my money on Nick Fuentes, even though I have no proof of that. Who else?
That dude's gay too.
Give me the ones that you're thinking of.
Well, I mean, first of all, Fuentes isn't in the manosphere because you can't be an incel. You can't be an incel who refuses to touch women because you're homosexual and be in the manosphere. That's not how that works, right?
Yeah, well, ironically, unfortunately, half the people in the manosphere are actually incels. Yeah,
no, but not the LARPing kind. So you got the LARPing kind of incel who's like
90% of the manosphere.
What's that?
That's like 90% of the manosphere is a LARPers.
Yeah, the LARPing incel, and then you have the actual incels, right? Like they're and he's a LARPing incel, so he's just like funning about it.
We got our first person backstage, Peter. Yo, what's up? Can you turn your camera on backstage so I know you're real? We had a recent dick flash situation, so I'm trying to be careful. You don't have to keep your camera on when you're on the stream. You just need to turn it on backstage.
Oh, yeah. Jack Murphy's pretty bad.
Yeah, Jack Murphy. Yeah, that's one.
He's a total cuck, that guy.
Yeah. He wrote some article where he was talking about how great it is to have like your girlfriend get fucked by other dudes while he's like doing man things.
So gross, dude.
What's
wrong with you fucking degens? Why do you do all this shit? It's gross.
Don't put me in the same category, dude. I don't have my girlfriend get fucked by other dudes while I do the
Yeah.
I would say Steven Crowder, probably, in my opinion, is also in that category. Even though he's not in the manosphere, but he's kind of like TradCon.
No, that guy's gay too. That guy's gay too. For sure, that guy's gay.
Yeah.
Didn't he recently come out and say he was gay?
No. But there's
I think he did. I think he said something along those lines that he did gay stuff or some shit.
An article came out that basically, and this was verified by the newspaper, that he had a habit of showing his dick to employees, male employees, repeatedly over and over again, through photos, through like real life. So it was like apparently a good day at the office if Steven was showing you his dick, because it meant he was in a good mood. But if he didn't show you his dick, and then he's in a bad mood, and then like, you know, you could get yelled at or fired.
Good God. Okay, so Alex, I got a couple of questions for you that my chat wants to know about, and I kind of want to know the answers too. Yeah, so what's the deal with the nose? What happened with the nose, dude?
I broke my nose when I was 16. I don't know. Me and my cousin were just like fucking around. And I did something that pissed him off, and he wasn't trying to like actually hurt me, but we were wrestling, and I hit my nose against a steel bench, and it completely like broke it.
Well, how come they didn't set it right?
I did have an operation done like a month later. It just I guess the way the doctor explained to me is that scar tissue can pull it in any direction. So it was a lot worse before I had the operation done. But yeah, just scar tissue. I could probably do another operation if I want to. I just don't give a shit.
And then the second thing that I was wondering is, why do you always have your face right up to the camera?
Because I have bad vision.
Well, did you get fucking glasses?
I do have glasses, but I don't want to put on my glasses while I do a live stream.
But wouldn't that make you look sophisticated?
No, it just kind of makes me look nerdy. And potentially gay. Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm going to do LASIK in the very near future. So until then, people are going to have to deal with my face close to the camera. Were those the two big questions?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure that they'll ask me more too. You got these panel guys coming on so that we can fuck with them, or what?
I dropped the link. There was this one dude backstage, but as soon as it said turn your camera on backstage, he dipped. So
yeah, he just wanted to fuck the stream up for sure.
Makes me a little sus about.
Where's that punk ass mod you have who's always talking shit to me every time I'm in your chat? Punk ass little bitch mod who's always talking shit about me inside your chat. Where's that guy at? Tell him to come on here.
You could be talking about any number of people. I think you're talking about Greg. I don't know who you're talking.
That's him. Every single time I'm on your channel, the guy is always fucking going crazy. Tell his bitch ass to come on here.
Well, you know, I like Greg, but Greg, if you want to come on, feel free. Andrew wants to have a little discussion with you, I guess.
Yeah, Greg. You're always talking shit about how I'm a terrible debater and I'm this and I'm that. Why don't you come on here and prove to everybody how awful I am and how based you are?
Alex, thoughts on Zerka self-admitting to 8 lay count? I don't obsess with guys needing insanely high lay count, but I expect 100 from someone who talks on that. Okay, I don't. He constantly talks about how he's sleeping with models, so how would he have a lay count of 8? There's something here feels off. He's like repeatedly, constantly talked about models. Like, oh, I was just finishing up with a model. Oh, I was just having sex with a model. So one of those statements has to be a lie. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really have. I don't know.
Zerka's a fucking lunatic, a cocaine dipping fucking Looney Tune, dude.
Have you ever debated him?
No, he refuses.
Does he?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a shame. Yeah, he did. He came on my channel twice, and then the second time he said he doesn't want to come on anymore because I'm not a true red pillar. I'm too much of a fence sitter.
Yeah, that sounds like Zerka.
Yeah. So I guess he didn't like the fact that I had like my own opinion on shit. That was yeah, I don't know. I like the dude, but yeah, it was weird that he took that against me. Zerka says 8 lay count, but over 100 head count. He said he doesn't like to have sex. He doesn't like to have sex. Okay.
Who gives a shit about Zerka? Bring that bitch ass Greg on here.
Zerka's trolling one says 8 lay count. Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know what the fuck Greg is doing. He might be busy doing shit. Who wins a debate between Greg and Andy? Here, I'll text him and see if he wants to come on.
Yeah, tell his bitch ass to come on here. He's always talking shit in your fucking chat. And I want to find out what his problem is.
He just doesn't like you, homie.
Yeah, well, he can come the fuck on here and talk to me.
Okay.
Tell him not to be a puss.
I'm not gonna do that, but I'm gonna say, hey, if you want to come on, Andrew wants to talk to you.
Well, tell him I'm talking mad shit about him live.
But, all right, maybe I'll say that. Andrew.
Tell him I called him a punk bitch. Tell him I said he needs to hold my belt loop.
Oh, we got one guy backstage. I know this dude. He's legit. What's up, Dennis?
What's up? I'm chilling.
So
is Andrew looking for like someone to debate?
Yeah, Andrew's like a fucking
I'm just over here to crash the Q&A. Yeah.
He's like a lion who hasn't been fed in like 2 weeks and he's just looking for a piece of meat.
Yeah.
But not in a gay way. Like a purely heterosexual piece of meat.
I feel like your backtracking made that worse, Alec. I don't feel like it made it better. But anyway, what's up, Dennis?
I'm chilling. I'm kind of a fan, Andrew. You know, I like what you're doing. Like you're putting Alex in his place. You know,
he's putting me in my place.
It's good for Alex. It's good for Alex.
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think about this bitch ass mod who's always fucking with me in the chat, dude?
Greg, yeah, he has a big mouth. You know, like I agree. He has a lot of enemies. He makes a lot of enemies.
Why won't his bitch ass come on the stream? Tell his bitch ass to come on the stream.
He had no idea this was happening. He had zero warning.
Well, what does he need? Does he need an invite with balloons? Do we need to send him an invite with balloons and say, come to the party, pal, or what?
He's like a human being who like fucking lives life.
How is it every fucking time I'm on the channel, this motherfucker happens to be there running his mouth, talking all kinds of shit, but the time that I'm on here in an open panel, he'd nowhere to be found. It's amazing.
That is not denied. I'm sure he would debate you, though. I texted him, so we'll see what happens. All right, Peter, I see you backstage once again. So once again, I need you to turn your camera on backstage. I won't bring you on until you turn it off.
And leave it on just in case it's on a cycle. Leave it on for a minute or two.
So, Andrew, you think there should be like enforced monogamy?
I see you, Peter. You're good.
No.
No.
No. You couldn't enforce it.
Well,
it's not enforceable.
How would you change the current situation?
I'd repeal the 19th Amendment so that women could no longer vote. That would be step one. And then I'm serious. And then step two is I would get rid of no fault divorce.
You and Pearly things would definitely agree on that. All right, let's bring up.
We do agree on that. We do agree on that.
Oh shit! Sorry, I don't know if you're trying to stay anonymous. So, if you want to keep your camera on, keep it on. But if you're trying to turn it off, I'll give you a minute. Oh, it was a fucking flasher. He decided he's playing a porno backstage. What a fucking loser! It's always here. I'm gonna ban him from the studio. And it's always these pornos are never like a guy fucking a chick. It's always like some big black guy jerking off.
Well, but he didn't get it though. He wasn't able to. He didn't pull it off. He didn't pull it off. He fucked up.
Dude, what a fucking loser, man. I cannot stand people like that. Yeah, Greg, I guess Andrew is a little upset with you, so he wants to I don't know, debate you, I guess.
Well, to be fair, I did what I said specifically, Greg, is that you're a stupid little bitch who's always talking shit in this fucking chat. I want to know what your problem is, and I want you to come on here and tell me what your fucking problem is. That's what I want. Greg. And you're gay also. I wanted to throw that out there too. I didn't want there to be any confusion about how I feel about you, Greg.
So
yeah, it seems like you have very strong feelings against Greg. Was it just because he like talked shit about you a little bit in the chat a few times?
Yeah, he's just always talking fucking shit. And I'm like, I want to know what his problem is. Never has a position, never has a critique of any of my arguments. He's just always talking fucking shit. I want to know what his issue is.
Okay.
So Andrew, Alex like hangs out with Destiny sometimes, and Destiny is like bisexual.
Yeah,
like,
he's a fucking gross degen. Yeah, I
like,
agree.
Don't you think that's a little like suspect? Like, why is he hanging out with gay people? You know?
Does he hang out with Destiny IRL?
Because I'm gonna catch his bisexuality. It's like a virus, right? Then
wait a second, Alex. Are you hanging out with him IRL, bro?
I've hung out with him like 2 or 3 times.
Yeah. Well, I mean, is he tall enough to reach your spot?
You know what they say, birds of a feather flock together. Like,
oh, listen, Andrew's been chatting with Destiny way before I was, so
I don't go hang out with him IRL. I don't hang out with him IRL. I debate with the guy online like I do all DGens.
Yeah, he's a good dude. I like him.
Like, when are you gonna come out of the closet, Alex?
That's how it works. That's how it works, Dennis. If you have a friend who's bisexual, then you must also be bisexual.
Hey, Chad,
can
we get some crowds for Dennis?
Here's some genius.
Give me some crowds for Dennis. He's based.
Genius logic right there.
You don't think birds of a feather flock together, Alex? Like, come on.
Yeah, Alex. Do you see woodpeckers hanging out with bluebirds, Alex? No, you don't see woodpeckers hanging out with bluebirds.
Wait, Dennis, but if you hung out with me, then wouldn't that make you gay too?
Look, all I'm saying is that if you're around a bad influence long enough,
according to this theory, you and I can never meet up because you might catch the gay.
Yeah, I'm staying in Chicago. Like
Chicago.
Yeah, you're a smart man, Dennis.
Yeah,
Genius.
You gotta watch out for the gay, man. It's very confusing.
But all I'm saying is that, like, if you're around a bad influence, like, eventually you're gonna get tempted, So I'm just saying, watch out. And you know how gays are.
Like Destiny is like jerking off dudes in front of me. Like, what do you think we do? When
I think Destiny would definitely like try to trick you, like. He would definitely try to
going over to his house at like 3 a.m. and participating in his bedroom activities. Like, is that what you think?
I don't want to know what you guys do together. Like,
somebody in chat said that's why the channel's called Playing with Fire.
The funny thing is, Dennis actually said something that's pretty sus, which is that you might get tempted. If you're straight, you should not get tempted.
I said if you're around a bad influence long enough, like. If you hang out with drug addicts, you're going to become one, Like, if you hang out with alcoholics, you're eventually going to become an alcoholic.
So if I hang out with you, will I become a magician?
Yeah. Did you watch that video?
Well, hang on. If you did hang out with him long enough, a magician, don't you think he'd pick up a magic trick or two?
Yeah,
you would, Alex. Yes, you would.
I was interested in. Yeah, probably.
I can teach him how to saw women in half and put them back together.
Teach that to Andrew. He'll just leave out the second part.
I went out last night and I filmed some dope videos, so I'm gonna have to release them on my channel.
Nice. Yeah, I did. Okay, Greg. I think people are saying he wants to come on, so I dropped the link. Greg, here's the link.
Yeah, Greg. Come on, Greg.
The funny thing also is like when people like ask me about Andrew, they're like, "Yo, isn't Andrew a dick?" I'm like, you know what? Andrew's like one of the nicest people off camera. Like, and like no one believes in me at all. People are like, yeah. I'm like, no, he's like a really, really nice person. Just he has like split personality disorder where when he's on camera, he puts on this like fucking persona of like a total fucking asshole. But off camera, he's like a really nice guy.
You saw that super chat, Alex?
Someone about going on a date with someone and they got trannied or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sucks. I mean, I don't know what to say. No, it's rough, I guess. That's why I prefer shorter girls. Less likely to happen.
Alex over here fucking giving away my secrets and shit. Fucking prick.
Sorry about that, buddy. Andrew's horrible off camera. He's even worse. He like fucking, he calls me at like 4 a.m. just to wake me up, and then I'll be like, "What's up, dude?" He'd be like, "Nothing." Go back.
And you can
sleep.
hear me beating my wife and kids in the background. And they're
I just want to FaceTime you while I beat the shit out of my family. I'll be like, "Oh, okay, yeah." All right, guys. Link has dropped, so yeah, I'll drop it again, I guess. Okay, Pence Principal Greg. Greg, can you please turn on your camera backstage? We had a dick flashing. Okay, I see you. All right, you're good, buddy.
Ooh, cool.
All right,
Yo, Andrew, I heard you're talking shit. What's up, my man?
Well, I said you're a bitch, and you're always talking shit in your chat. I want to know what your fucking problem
Can we
is.
see those receipts that you promised us? Not
For
the
what?
Pence principal. The girls trying to slide in your DMs. We still haven't seen any receipts from you, Andrew.
So why do I need to
Well,
provide?
okay, but you said you had receipts.
Yeah, that doesn't mean I'm going to
You
provide.
don't have receipts.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to
You
provide
can't show any
anything.
receipts of girls trying to get.
I'm
with you, right?
not going to. No, that would require docs.
But you critique our receipts, and then you can't even show receipts for yourself.
Why do I need to show anything?
Because you said you had receipts.
So you don't think that an online personality like me has women who proposition them? Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely not. No, I don't.
Okay. And the only way that you'll believe that is if I show you receipts that that's true.
Yes, receipts that don't involve you explaining the Pence principle to women. I want to see women specifically.
Yeah, but I explained the Pence principle to all of these women who contact me.
Yeah, but does that mean
Which
that
is not like an innumerable amount, but there's been a few, yeah.
Does that mean that they're sexually interested in you?
If I'm explaining to them the Pence rule, yeah.
I guess their panties wet, right? That you're just, the Pence principle up and down.
No, that's me rebuffing them.
So, but how does that show that they're trying to get with you?
Because they will say things before I tell them that I follow the Pence principle.
What kind of things will they send to you or say to you, I guess?
Well, sometimes they're overtly sexual, sometimes not, just flirtatious.
Can you show us any proof of the overly sexual things that they send to you?
I could, but that would literally require me doxing these people.
Why can't you just blur out their face and name?
Well, I could blur out their face and name, but
why don't you just do that?
Shut up and let me finish.
I was not.
Shut up. Shut up.
No,
I was not prepared to walk on the stream though and have that ready for you.
Well, that's another thing. I didn't know that you had my name in your mouth. I was summoned.
Well, all you do is talk shit.
Yeah, and I can back my shit up. I've showed many.
So let's say for a second, let's just hand it to you and say there's not a single woman who's ever contacted me to proposition me, not even one time. What are your other criticisms?
That you talk massive shit. You say that I talk massive shit. I think you talk massive shit too.
Okay, what's the criticism?
The criticism is anyone that doesn't believe in Jesus Christ, you think is a degenerate.
There we go. So now we're getting to what your actual problem is. So I do think that definitionally they're degenerates. Why wouldn't they be?
So you think everyone that watches Playing with Fire is a degenerate?
No, and everybody that watches with Playing with Fire is not an atheist.
Okay, but what's your criticism with like some of the Playing with Fire fans? Because I hear you call a lot of guys degenerates.
They're definitionally degenerates. I don't have any problem with them personally.
No, I mean, why do you think they're degenerates?
Because they don't follow the teachings of Jesus Christ, so they're engaged in sexual sin, which would be degeneracy. Degeneracy just means without morals or no moral justification.
So men that like to engage in casual sex, you consider them degenerates, right?
Yeah, they would definitionally be degenerates. It means without morals. You understand that? That's what
I
degeneracy
understand
means.
that. It's just that it's
So
funny.
repeat it back to me. Repeat it back to me what
I don't have to
degeneracy
repeat
means.
it back to you.
So you don't know what it means, or you
No,
can
I
repeat
just
it
don't
back.
take orders from someone that
Just
hasn't had a
repeat it
Marlboro
back.
sponsorship.
Repeat it
If
back
you
to
could
me.
showcase to me right now that you're sponsored by, what do you smoke? Marlboros, Newports? What kind of cigarettes do you smoke?
What does that have to do with anything?
Well, because I'm trying to see if you're actually sponsored by that company, because you smoke a lot of cigarettes, Andrew.
Yes, I like to smoke cigarettes. Why would that be
And how many
problematic?
visits do you take to the doctor per year?
None.
None.
I haven't
Why?
been to the
You're not
doctor in
concerned
years.
about your health at all? You wait, whoa. Okay. We got to rewind. You haven't been to the doctor in years. Why do you not go to the doctor?
What
He
the hell would I
has
need to
God
go?
protecting him.
Yeah, what would I
God
need to go to the
protect him?
doctor for?
You don't get your test levels checked?
My,
I'm not even trolling. I'm
My
like
what
serious.
levels?
Testosterone levels? Test
No.
is a slang term. So you don't know your own testosterone levels.
Why would I give a shit?
You should give a shit because that has to do with how you feel. Like
I feel fine. I feel fine. What are you talking about?
If you haven't gotten tests, you could have heart disease
How
right
do
now,
I
not
know
even
that I
know it.
feel fine?
Because Jesus Christ has a room for you, right?
No. Let me ask you this again. You just asked me, how do I know if I feel fine?
Yes, okay, but I'm
Who
saying
else
like,
would know how I feel except me, stupid?
the doctors that check you.
The
and treat
doctors
you
are
for
going to know how I
disease.
feel better than I know how I feel, stupid.
Okay, so you don't. Yeah, it's stupid.
How
because
fucking
I believe
dumb
in
are
modern
you, bro?
medicine, right?
How dumb are you?
Apparently, I'm pretty dumb since I.
Yeah,
actually
apparently
visit
you
the
are
doctor,
pretty
right?
dumb.
Yeah, and I don't smoke cancer sticks for a living, right?
This is getting heated fast.
What does that have to do
it
with
sounds
anything?
like Andrew's a little triggered. I mean, I don't know. I'm chilling. I don't know.
What does me smoking
So,
have
let me
to
ask
do
you
with
this.
anything?
When was the last time you actually went to the doctor? Like, do you even remember that?
I don't know. Maybe a couple of years ago, maybe.
And what made you not want to come back? Did he like do something that you didn't like? He just,
Yeah,
told
he
you-
charged me too much money.
Okay, so you don't have insurance.
You
So you might need better
You
health
might not.
insurance.
You might not know this, but in the adult world, for people who have jobs, they still have things called copays.
Whoa, really? Wow.
Yeah,
There must
really.
be insane.
Isn't that
copays.
crazy? Isn't that
That's
crazy?
insane. I didn't know
So,
that there were.
so wait,
copays.
so no doctor anywhere charges people with insurance money? You're a fucking genius, bro.
You said that, not me. Those are words from your mouth, not
Then
mine.
why would you? Your exact words were, so you have no insurance.
Okay, so you can't afford.
Your
copays.
exact
That's why you
words
go to-
were, so you have no insurance. Yes or
Andrew's
no?
Logic is I can't afford.
Yes or
$5
no?
for a copay.
Your exact words were, so
No,
you
those
have
were
no
not my
insurance.
words. Those were not my
Those
words.
were-
I said-
Okay,
I
so
asked
let's
you,
stop.
can
Let's
you
stop.
afford
Hang on,
insurance?
Alex.
Hold up. You
let's-
like to cut people off. You're like
Alex,
Donald
let's
Trump.
rewind the video. I'm going to
You
take
said-
my time and let's see if he
We don't
said
need
the
to
exact
rewind.
words.
I
So
asked
you
if you
don't
had
have
insurance. I asked you if you had insurance.
No, you made a statement that I didn't.
You kind of just went over. I'm going to assume you don't have insurance. So it seems like you have a high-paying job.
Why would I not have insurance? What are you
Andrew,
talking about?
That's what I'm trying to figure out. So
What the fuck
it
is this
seems-
idiot talking about?
apparently I'm an idiot because I go to.
You
the
are an
doctor
idiot,
and get
yes.
myself- Yeah. Oh, I'm so stupid. Okay, let's go back. So you have a good-paying job.
When you
yes?
so when you feel
How much
fine,
money
do you go to
make per
the
year?
when
How
you
much
feel
money do you make
fine,
per
do you
year?
go to the doctor?
So you're going to ignore my question. How much?
Yeah, I'm
money
not
do
going
you
to
make
answer
per
how
year?
much money I make per
Okay,
year.
so you don't make enough
Dodging
money.
it.
Got you. He is dodging Dennis. Press him on it. Because he doesn't listen when the stupid mod presses him. So maybe if Dennis,
You know what's funny, Greg? Like you get bitches. He's an incel. Like Andrew hasn't been with a new girl in years.
yo,
That's inseldom?
apparently, because you're blue pilled.
You're a simp.
only
simp.
you're only
You
cut
got
to
your wife
right?
a house. Why would you buy a
He
woman
doesn't
a
care about
house?
his health.
Come
His
on.
test levels could be really low right now, and he wouldn't know it. Andrew, how
Well,
old
to
are
be,
you?
to be fair, he's technically not an incel. An incel is someone who doesn't have sex. I'm sure he has
By
sex.
definition. Okay, Andrew. So
Yeah.
you're what, like 38,
He's
39?
not
How old are
pimping
you?
it though. He's not pimping
Well, I'm trying
it
to
though.
figure out. Okay, so what was he in his 40s?
I'm trying to
30s?
figure out what the
Does
fuck
your
you're
wife
even
call the
talking about.
shots?
We're
Does your
telling you
wife
that you need
call
a
the
wake up
shots?
call.
I mean, it seems like he just chose a different life path. Like he just wants to have like a family and shit. I don't
Okay,
know.
let's just step away from his family life. Let's not bring Christianity into it. Let's just talk about modern medicine. Okay.
No, you can
So-
talk about my family
Andrew,
life. That's fine. Let's
Well,
talk
we'll
about
get
your
to-
family life
we'll
too.
get to- Okay, let's talk about it. What do you want?
Yeah.
To
Did you have a mommy and a daddy?
Yeah, I did actually.
Were you
believe it or
happy
not.
that they stayed together for you?
Yeah, I was happy.
Then what's your fucking problem with the relationship of me staying together with my wife or my children?
I have a
retard?
problem because I don't believe in the Bible. I think the Bible is a
You
lie.
just well,
You believe in a man in the
here's
sky.
here's your exact words, stupid. You said, I'm happy my mommy and daddy stayed together for me.
Did I say that or did you? say
Yes,
that?
your exact words were, yes, I'm
So,
happy they
my
stayed
name
together
just
for me.
Magically changed to Andrew from the Crucible. I'm not Greg Lurick. Now I'm Andrew from the Crucible.
I don't even know what you're
definition, by
talking
your
about.
definition. Of course you don't. Your brain magically shuts off when people present logic and facts. But when they talk about the
You haven't
Bible,
presented anything.
your
What are you
eyes
talking
light
about?
up. Like if I said, "Yo, John 3:16 said this," your eyes would light up. Okay,
You just said it. Are my eyes lit up?
so, Andrew, okay, you're like I'm just gonna assume you're 40 years old. So after 35, testosterone levels start dropping typically for men.
Yeah,
So
but there's
you haven't
symptoms
been
for
to a
that.
doctor in years.
Yeah,
You
there's
could have a
symptoms.
tumor right now, and you wouldn't even know.
You know what symptoms of things are, though? There's symptoms.
Yes, there are symptoms. So just
Yeah.
because you feel fine doesn't mean you're fine.
Yeah, but I mean that could be the case. That could be the case for anybody at any time. Do you go to the doctor every single day?
No, but I get annual
No.
checkups. You don't have
But
to go every
don't you
day.
think? Don't you think you generally would go to the doctor when you're not feeling well? Isn't that usually when people go to the doctor,
but
bro?
you have annual checkups like every few months, generally speaking.
Not really. You have them every
Alex,
few years.
If Alex were to poll the audience right now and say, how many of you guys actually go to the doctor for general checkups?
Well, yeah, they have STDs because they're
No,
DJs.
no, not STDs. Why are you talking about STDs? I'm talking about just like regular stuff.
How many times have you gone to the? Hang on, I'm just curious. How many times have you gone to the doctor for STDs?
Plenty of times. I get tested.
I'm
every
sure
few
you
weeks.
have plenty of
I have.
times.
Yeah, do you want to see my test results? I'll send them to you privately after stream, Andrew.
You go to the doctor so much. You're concerned that you're going to get STDs, bro.
I'm not going to get him off too much in your guys' debate, but on this one, Greg does have a point. Annual checkups are a good idea for men to do because you can catch things and prevent them before they even happen. So that's the
yeah.
No. Hang on. You know who never has to go to the doctor to get checked up on it for STDs? People who are happily married
or incels, because technically they're not.
No, Andrew, not for STDs. For things more like your heart function.
Okay.
Yeah, but that was my question that I asked him: is how many times have you gone for the STDs? And he said plenty of times.
Do you trust your wife?
Yeah.
So you feel like you don't have to get a STD test because you're with your wife?
Yeah.
What if you one day found out your wife wasn't loyal to you? How would you react? I'm
Not
just saying,
well. Not good.
Would you get mad at her or the guy if you found out who the guy was?
I would be angry with her.
Okay, gotcha. So you're fairly confident that your wife isn't cheating on you?
Was she,
no,
was she
it's not.
when you married her?
Well, he's a happy Christian man, right? He's
not. It's not fairly confident. I'm 100% confident.
Okay.
Did you marry a virgin, Andrew?
No.
Oh, that's interesting.
She didn't marry a virgin either.
But it still worked out.
Yeah, it's worked out fine.
What were your guys' body counts?
I'm not getting into all that, dude. They weren't high.
Why are you dodging it, huh? Why are you dodging the question?
He does dodge a lot of questions.
That's not your concern. Why would that be a concern for you? I'm curious about this.
Let's do some quick maths. Andrew, do you know how many cigarettes you smoke per day? Just give me a rough estimate.
I don't know, pack.
A whole pack. How many do you smoke a week?
Well, let's see. If it's 7 days a week, 20 at 7.
When you times that by year, you're smoking a lot of cancer sticks. Do you think that has no impact at all on your health?
I think it has a disproportionate effect for different people depending on their physiology, how much they exercise, how sedentary they are.
Okay,
in my opinion, I think you should switch over to weed because weed is like all natural, as opposed to cigarettes are man-made with hundreds of sketchy chemicals. So you should just stick to the plant God made, which is marijuana.
Now, Greg, I'm just curious. What's your body count?
145 as of this moment.
And do you have receipts?
I do have receipts, actually. I have an OnlyFans as well. Do you want to check out my OnlyFans?
Let's see the receipt.
Crawl Sexy Hung 60.
It actually does answer, believe it or not.
I do. I have pornos, degenerate pornos of a Jewish man.
Of course you do.
In that, yeah, a true degenerate.
Did you say a Jewish man?
Yeah, I'm a Jewish man.
Why does that? Can you say oy vey for me?
I cannot. I say goyim.
I'm sure you do.
Hey, Andrew. Okay, Andrew. How about this? Can you showcase one receipt before your wife? Just one. We're asking for.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that.
You can't showcase one receipt.
For what?
Of you being with a woman before your wife.
Can I showcase a receipt? No, I can't.
Yeah. So you can't. You have no receipts other than your wife.
No. Well, I mean, no. I don't keep correspondence between women that I was with 18 years ago.
Okay, so that's the last time you were with another woman. It was 18 years ago.
Yeah, I've been married for a long time, bro.
Okay, well, I don't know. I just see you occasionally come into Alex's streams. I don't know your like whole biography.
Well, I just told you. Do you have receipts from 18 years ago?
I do. Well, actually, no. 18 years ago, no. But I have receipts from 9 years ago. Well, that's when I lost my virginity. 18. I'm 27, so I have receipts from 9 years ago.
So you don't have, you don't have receipts from X amount of time ago.
I mean, I have receipts from me getting my dick sucked at 16. If that makes you feel any better, but
gross.
I'm sure. Well, it is. You're speaking to live degenerates on Playing with Fire.
Let's talk about like 18 and up.
So what does that do for you? Being a Jewish degenerate, what does that do for you?
It's fucking amazing. And then you should meet my best friend Pastor Aiden. I have good conversations with him about being a Jewish degenerate.
And how does that go? How does being a Jewish degenerate
crazy
go?
Because Pastor Aiden's a wild card. I don't think you've been exposed to him yet. Alex has.
So let me ask you a question. So essentially, you're upset with me because I think that degenerate, meaning campground morality, has no morals, applies to people who have no morals. That's what you're upset about?
No, not quite. I'm actually well, I'm technically not upset. I was more confused why you randomly brought me up. After so do you because I want to know why you're always spurging at me in your chat. Do you understand why that distinction is made between people who can ground their morals and those who can't? Do you know why that's done? No, I know morals. I just think that our
then tell me what your moral. Oh, okay, well, ground your
personally morals in general.
Yeah, no, just ground your morals.
Judaism.
Ground your morals.
My morals are not just Judaism. I think so this is where we differ, right? So you believe that a man can only. Okay, wait, Dennis. Okay, that door just distracted.
Wait, guys, 1 second. There's one guy backstage. He said he only has 5 minutes before he has to go back to work, and he just wants to make 3 points.
Yeah. We'll pause that. I'll be here.
Yeah. Let's just bring this guy on real quick. What's up?
Hey guys. Hey Alex, thanks for having me on. I just have 3 points for Andrew. Why abstaining from sex is BS. Sex outside of marriage. Okay, so number 1. So that implies that denying yourself pleasure makes you a good person. Makes about as much sense as there's a Catholic sect that walks through the streets flogging themselves once a year. That's because that supposedly makes them a good person. Most people don't agree with that. That's number 1.
Yeah, hang on. Can we kind of take these one point at a time?
No, I have to make them real quick, and then I'll listen to your response off the air. So the second,
I got to write them down, I guess.
That's a logical argument. Now I have an emotional argument. So knowing that women are more emotional and more impulsive than men are, and they like sex as much as men do, and it's much easier for them to get sex. How would you feel knowing that all the women are having wild casual sex, and but you abstain from sex thinking it made you a good person, but all the women are having wild casual sex and you're the only one left out? So that's an emotional argument, right? Okay. Most guys wouldn't feel too good about that. And then the pragmatic argument and a hypocrisy argument is, if you watch porn, if you abstain from sex, watch porn and jack off, that's just as much a sex act as everything else. So you're not abstaining from sex if you've ever jacked off in your entire life. And not only that, and here's another hypocrisy argument. If say you meet the woman of your dreams, she checks all the boxes. She's amazing, smart, funny, good person. And she likes you as much as you like her, but she wanted to have sex on the first date. Would you say no?
Yeah.
So most guys are lying to themselves if they would say no. And if they did say no, they'd probably regret it later. She'd be like, I'm not interested anymore. I think you're playing games. You don't want to have sex. So those are my 3 points. And I dare you to refute all 3. All right.
Yeah, I wish we could have gone through.
I gotta go.
I wish we could have gone through all 3 of them one at a time. What was the first point?
Yeah, go through. I'll listen to your response.
Just give me the consolidated version real quick, so I can write it down.
I got it. Okay. Consolidated version is okay.
So I got the jerking off. I got the jerking off is the same as sex. Okay, got that one. What else?
denying yourself pleasure makes you a good person. That's illogical. And then if you found out that all the women were having wild casual sex and you were not, you wouldn't feel too good about that. That's an emotional argument.
Okay, and then if you found out women were having sex and you weren't involved, you would feel bad?
Yeah, most guys wouldn't be too happy. They find out the girl of their dreams had lots of wild casual sex, and you missed out, but you didn't, right? That's an emotional argument. That's why guys worried about the body counts.
Yeah, I got it. I understand.
All right. All right, thanks.
I need to take care. All right, so you want to answer these?
Yeah. So the first thing is, he says denying yourself pleasure makes you a good person is illogical. That's actually not an illogical statement because there's no contradiction. But from the perspective of the argument sense, nobody says that denying yourself pleasure makes you a good person. That's not the Christian worldview. The Christian worldview is that you are maintaining your abstinence for the purposes of purity. And that purity is the value that we're after here. That's a much better value than promiscuity. So this would fall under what's virtuous and what isn't virtuous. And then we could argue from the premise of what's virtuous. And then if you found out women were having sex, but you weren't, that would make you feel bad. Okay, well, that's like an argument to if you found out people who were around you were millionaires and you weren't, it would make you feel bad. Does that mean that they should have to give you their money? Right? But it has, again, nothing to do with virtue. It's not really an argument. It's a non-argument. Whether or not they would feel bad about it or not is completely irrelevant to the point. So we're talking about what's virtuous and what isn't virtuous. And this is the difference between having grounding for your ethics and not having any grounding for it. So if you want to bring that other guy on now so that we can get back into this, because I want to know what his moral system is.
Yeah, he said he needs 5 minutes. He's doing something. This is actually a very interesting super chat. I want to ask you, Alex. Ask Andrew if he believes in UFOs and how that fits in with his religion.
I don't. Well, I mean, I believe in unidentified aerial phenomenon for sure. I've seen some of that myself, but as far as like aliens and shit like that, no.
What if you were shown irrefutable proof that there are aliens out there? Would that fuck with your like religious perspective at all, or would you reconcile that?
Well, it would be, that's like you're likening this to asking me like, what if you were shown irrefutable proof within a hypothetical that God wasn't real? Would that fuck with your religion? Well, yeah. Yeah. If somehow you could demonstrate with irrefutable proof that there was no God, would that mess with my head? Yeah, of course it would. So the thing is just like but remember, it's baked into the hypothetical, the question that you're asking. It's baked into the hypothetical. It's like asking, if you were dead, would you be alive anymore? It's like, no. Right? No.
I don't see how they're mutually exclusive. You could have aliens and a God, right? Like, why are they mutually exclusive?
You could, right? But you're asking in the hypothetical, would that fuck with my religion?
Okay. It would cause you to question things, basically.
Yes.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. All right. So we'll bring on one more person before Greg, because I guess he needs time to do some shit. So let's bring on this dude. Okay. Hello.
Hey, what's up?
Not much. What's going on?
So I got a question for you guys. What do you think? I mean, I've seen your channel a little bit. What do you think the most important attributes? All right, let's put it like this. If you had a son, I don't know if you have kids, Andrew. I don't think you do, Alex, or that you know of, right?
I have 5.
Oh, damn, you got 5.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Congratulations. What do you think the most important attribute? I mean that.
No, I appreciate it. I appreciate that.
Yeah. What do you think the most important attribute, and for Alex, would be, if you had kids, to teach your son turning 18, so to speak? What I'm getting at is the most important virtue you think that you would bestow upon a young man.
So I mean, there would be so many self-responsibility. I think, extreme ownership.
I don't consider those to be virtues.
Why?
No, because they don't fall under the purview of virtues. So for a virtue, for instance, would be something like temperance. I think temperance would be extremely important. So if I was if you were to say, pick one virtue out of a list. Now, Alex, you can call whatever you want a virtue. I'm just saying I disagree with the concept that those are virtuous Self-ownership's not a virtue. Why would that be virtuous? What's virtuous about self-ownership?
Because you take responsibility for everything in your life instead of blaming it on other people.
Yeah, I mean, I think that could fall under what I would consider a virtue if you explain it that way. So I think that that's fair. But I would say temperance.
You would say
I'd say temperance. Temperance is the most important. So being even keeled and emotionally stable, I think that that's the most important thing to teach a man on his way out the door.
All right,
if they fail at everything else on planet Earth, I think that temperance is the one.
Okay.
I would say discipline and delayed gratification.
That's temperance, though. That would fall under the purview of temperance.
Okay.
Discipline?
Yeah, discipline. So that would be self-discipline. So you wouldn't be able to have temperance without self-discipline.
Yeah, you're right.
So would it be fair to say that most men today, young men, whatever, any men, are missing that?
Yeah, it's one of the key problems. It's one of the reasons I advocate for religion. It's because religion will go over these. So somebody in the chat actually helpfully posted the virtues: humility, charity, chastity, gratitude, temperance, patience, and diligence. I think that temperance is a requirement to have any of the other ones. So I would say now, you know, there's obviously you could argue it kind of either way, but I think that temperance requires patience, and I think temperance requires a bit of gratitude and maybe not charity, but maybe charitability towards people. Maybe not charity in the conventional sense of like you're handing out money or goods, but at least being charitable towards the people you're talking to. Like you came on the call, you're not hostile, you just want to talk. So I'm going to be as charitable as I can be, right? But I think that temperance is a big one. If I had to like label anything as the most important, if I was at gunpoint and they said, Andrew, you have to do it right now, that's the one I would pick.
Yeah, I'll look up. There's two definitions, but the second one, the quality of moderation or self-restraint, yeah, I do think that's important. The first definition is abstinence from alcoholic drink, but I'm assuming that's not what you mean.
Well, there's also religious definitions. Remember that the dictionary definition, just like a legal definition or a medical definition, is going to be different than a religious definition.
So what's your definition of temperance?
Well, I think that temperance, if I was going to condense it the best way I possibly could, in kind of a layman's term, would be even keeled and emotional coolness. Right. So it doesn't mean that you have a lack of emotion or things like this, but you know how to control them, moderate them, and act upon them without being too terrified to act. So I think that would be the best way that I would describe it, as like even keeled.
Yeah, so emotional mastery.
Right. Yeah, emotional mastery is a good way to look at it. Yeah.
Funny enough, that's a big part of what pickup teaches, as a side note. Yeah, go ahead, Base.
Yeah, sorry. Are you fully on board with that, Alex? I'm just asking. It's not a loaded question.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if it's like my number one, but it'll probably be top three. Sure. Yeah.
Okay. So follow up to that, because I do agree with you. I might have phrased it differently just because I'm coming from a different place, but I think I align with what you're saying. So how do you think the best way to impact society with that is? And I'm not asking you to do it, I'm just talking kind of high level here, kind
like
of
from a perspective. Yeah, so you're talking from a prescriptive level. What's the best way to do it? Best way to do it is to demand that men take responsibility,
right?
So that they have more responsibility, and and that, you know, I think that that's a huge problem. You know what I mean? Yeah. What we have now is a shift of responsibility. Women don't even take their share of responsibility, right? But men often run from it. They often run from it. So it's problematic.
But you will acknowledge that you can be very responsible and not be religious, right?
You can be, yes.
So isn't it kind of ironic now what's going on that you were hinting at, that you were getting at, that society is running at a level, men and women are equal, we're the same. But as you just pointed out, men have a higher level of responsibility innately, biologically.
In some senses.
Religious. Well, yeah, sure.
In some senses,
I'm not saying in every single aspect.
Yeah. So egalitarianism is fake. It's literally, it's a faux proposition, right? There's no such thing as egalitarianism and equality. That's just made up bullshit.
Right. But what I'm getting at is that in that happening, that what we have is men not actually taking the responsibility and to some degree, right, on some levels, and saying to women, well, here you go, this is what you wanted, and they're kind of like, bullshit, I don't want this, I just want the good stuff that comes with it.
Right. That's feminism.
Right.
Yeah, that's feminism. So what I mean by when men aren't taking responsibility, what I mean by this is I think that men have been checking out of society based on women's behavior more and more and more. And that's what I see inside of like these communities when I talk to you guys, is that there's a great checkout, which is happening. They're like, look, these bitches can't behave. They're acting like fucking skanks. They're doing all sorts of shit. They're lying. They're backbiters. They're cheating. They're doing all this shit they're not supposed to be doing. Right. And so they actually check out. They just like check out of the system altogether. That's part of that men going your own way, kind of the MGTOW thing, is when they're kind of remove themselves away from the system. Maybe they just buy a prostitute every once in a while. They play video games with their friends and they try to enjoy their life. I think, though, that that's kind of abandoning all of your virtues, which is, I think that you should get married. I think you should have children. I think you ought to do those things, not just because they're commanded by God, but because I think it gives you a more whole life. Even if you don't believe in God, I still think it's optimal for men to do this.
There's different levels of checking out. So the most extreme level of checking out would be when you go like full MGTOW, where you just like, you don't do anything romantic or sexual with women. That's pretty rare in this community. It's not common. A more common is a partial checkout, where guys are like, yo, I'm not going to date these girls. I'll just have sex with them. That's like a part. That's what you see happening in the red.
I think that's true. Yeah, I think that that's correct. But the thing is that I see people going to more and more extreme modes as the relationship dynamics in the West break down, and the birth rates are a reflection of the relationship dynamics breaking down. Women want to have families less and less and pursue careers more and more. And men don't want to date men. They want to date women. They want to have sex with women. They want to marry women, right? They don't want some career check.
There's so many women out there, though, still that want to have a family. I feel like, okay, maybe a little bit more, but
the pickings are slim, and the big problem is that they want to start families later and later in life, right? So they want to wait until they're all done with their careers in the cock carousel, then they want to start their family. That's a big problem.
They want to eat their cake and have it too.
Yep, that's right. They want to have their cake and eat it too.
The men that they want generally don't want them at that point.
That's also correct. They don't. They generally don't want them. If there's something that's younger and with less baggage, and they're both available, they'll go for the thing that's younger with less baggage pretty much every time.
Right.
And I don't blame them. Like, I don't blame them for doing that. Right. None of this is contrary to Christianity, by the way.
Just to be clear, there's a huge percentage of guys who will just like take whatever they can get.
Well, they'll have sex with whatever they can get. That doesn't mean they're going to settle down with it.
They'll actually date whatever they can get.
There's some men who will do that. Yes.
And there's some men that used to do that.
There's probably 4 different categories, like people that do nothing, people that retreat, like, oh, like I got divorced, I'm staying away from women, people that take like average action, and then like people that are like Alex and like go full time, and just get to hundreds of lays.
Yeah. Well, it's not hard to find a girl who's, okay, let me rephrase that. It's not impossible to find a girl who's great, who's awesome, who's not high body count, who's loving, caring, and blah, blah. All that exists. I think there's a disconnect between guys and girls, because back in the day, you used to meet girls through I don't know, work or through your friends, and that's becoming less and less common. So there's a disconnect that's going on. But those girls do exist if you know how to look and where to look.
Yeah.
What
do you have any more like tangible stuff? Like, what do you mean by like take responsibility? Like, get a job? Like, what do you mean?
Who are you asking?
Andrew.
As far as responsibility goes, so I think that men are the inheritors and crafters of all of society. They're the crafters of rules, and they're the protectors of rights, even of other men. And I think that many of them shirk their responsibility inside of that domain because they have no higher value or higher calling to go towards at all.
Now, wouldn't you agree that it's men? I mean, and I don't mean specific men, although there is specific men that put us in this position to begin with. Feminism, women voting, all the things, all the different facets that have led to modern day.
It was mostly technology, honestly.
Right, but where did that come from? Right, and I'm not trying to say, oh, men are bad. Obviously, I'm a man. I'm saying that at the end of the day, I look at that as responsibility that we put ourselves here. And sure, technology, I agree with you, but I don't want to just scapegoat it to like, oh, well, it landed in our laps. No, we created that shit.
Well, there's no point in like beating yourself about the why. It's just a matter
of no, I agree with you.
Like, it doesn't matter how we got where we got. I mean,
no, it matters. It matters why or how we got where we're at. If you don't know history, you're doomed to repeat it, right? And so,
right, if you're, yeah, sure. If you're in a position of power, but if you're just like your average dude who's not,
no, all men are in a position of power, whether they know it or not. They're in a position to take power. They're in a position to seize control of their families, of their lives, things like this. They are in positions to do this. Women uniquely are not in positions to do this, except at the allowance of men. They uniquely cannot do this without men. Men are the grounding and foundation for women's rights, their equality, their everything. They get everything from us. So we've always had a unique autonomy and authority to do this. Women, though, they're the gatekeeper of who gets to reproduce. So men tend to compete with each other over who gets to reproduce with which woman. So they try to go for the hottest woman that they can, the most beautiful woman that they can, or the highest status woman that they can get, which usually has those attributes, right? So this is the age-old battle of the sexes. But the thing is one of the things that religion promotes, right, is these type of behavioral patterns that the degens would consider to be optimal in women. Okay. That's what religion is promoting. Even the things that you guys would see as optimal traits, religion's going to promote those optimal traits in women.
Okay, Andrew, let's say you're the average guy, has an average job, living in a state that's always goes one way, either Republican or Democratic state, not a swing state. What power do you have to change the system?
That's the wrong way to look at power. Power dynamics don't just work on a level of I vote, so therefore I have power. Power dynamics work in localizations more than they do anything. You have men who lead other packs of men. You have men who are leaders at work. You have men who rise above the fray, things like this. They have extraordinary community power, regardless of who goes and votes on national issues or even who votes on localized issues. Those are the men who craft the legislation you're voting on to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, there's a small percentage of men who will have the majority of the power. And there's some men who have a little bit of power.
It's not, but hang on. Local setting. When you say small, it's not that small, right? If you go to any work environment on planet Earth, you're going to see certain men who rise above the other ones, right? There's tons and tons of factories and small job centers, things like this that people work at all the time. So you're talking about tens and hundreds of thousands of men who are in these unique leadership roles. So when it's kind of easy to marginalize it and say, like, look, there's very few of these men. There's actually quite a few of them, far more than you think.
Yeah, they might have influence on their like local team, whatever that they're involved in, or maybe even on the company as a whole. But they're not going to be the ones who are making decisions about what product we're going to manufacture, what kind of advertising we're going to do. That's a very small percentage.
They do, especially if they collectivize. When they collectivize, they do have the power to determine those things on a local level, which gives them significant power even nationally. And these collectives often coordinate with other collectives who share their similar ideology. And that's how you end up with trends. That's how you end up with all sorts of different legislation, which ends up, moving forward, and different parties getting formed, and localized parties getting formed, and unions. And all of this is through the organization of extraordinary men, and then less extraordinary, but still extraordinary men who follow them.
Andrew, so are you pro-union then?
Depends. Sometimes I'm pro-union. It depends on what type of union you're talking about.
Let's just take like Starbucks union or Amazon union.
No, corporate unionization is more exploitative to the employee than it is helpful to the employee.
Well, I'm kind of confused. We're talking about how like these men have a power through collectivization and union, but if you're anti-union, how does that?
The union doesn't have to be an organization which is specific to work. I'm saying they can unionize over any number of different issues. When all I mean by unionize is collectivize. That's it. I don't mean they can join a fucking work union, though they could, and that could be a way in which they could affect local policy, and it's happened that way before. But they can unionize in any number of different ways. Sometimes they have clubs, right? You have different clubs that form. around different interests. You maybe have sports leagues which form around different interests, and then they begin to move towards political action. There's all sorts of different ways that men collectivize.
Yeah, I think we just radically disagree on this. I think power is in the hands of a few, and some people have a small amount of power, a sliver of power. Like you and I have a little bit of power. You have the power to affect your audience. I have the power to affect my audience. But in the grand scheme of things, our power level is like 0.00000.
Well, what do you think power is?
Ability to change the course of history, change people's opinions.
Well, that's a really so one of those is a really high bar, the ability to change history, and one of them's a really low bar, which is the ability to change minds. So if it's just the ability to change minds, surely you have a significant amount of power.
Yeah.
In terms of my audience, yes, but in terms of the grand scheme of things, like for example, let's say that I think that I don't know that Biden is the worst thing ever, and my biggest goal in life is to keep Biden from being elected. I have close to zero power in that regards, right? Like my audience doesn't really look to me for voting, and even if they did, it's very limited compared to the whole, the amount of people who vote, right? So yeah, like even when it comes to that, I have some influence, but the influence, I'm cognizant of the fact that influence is very limited. Now, someone like Joe Rogan has a lot more influence. He has a lot more power.
Well, I don't understand. Did lightning strike these people so they had this power, or did they work towards a worthy goal and move towards that over time? But that's what I'm talking about. That's what I mean by responsibility. Stop, Alex. What I mean by this is what I said. It's literally the moving towards a worthy goal through some sort of collectivization. Lightning didn't strike them. They worked towards this goal. That's part of responsibility.
Yeah, all that is great. I'm just saying for every Joe Rogan, there's 20,000 people that you've never heard of.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that they have no power. They might exercise quiet power, quiet authority. I mean, there's people
at a point in time that probably have close to zero power.
No, I don't think so. I think that if you look at sometimes producers and things like this, oftentimes they're not well known in the public eye, but they move things behind the scenes in a major way.
Yeah, producers are a tiny percentage of people involved.
Alex, how much influence would you have to have? Like,
I'm not talking about Hollywood producers, Alex. I'm talking about people who produce products.
Like what, manufacturers? Like what do you?
Yes, producers, people who make stuff people want. So they can affect massively. They can affect local policies with money, right? Or with jobs, or with zoning regulations, or with any number of different things. There's all sorts of people who are producers of things which have an enormous amount of power who are not known in the public eye.
Right, sure, you're right about that. So that means the CEO, the CFO, maybe the marketing director, they do have a lot of influence, and the
small business owner,
a lot of things.
Yeah, and the small business owner.
All the people who are like the employees of those, they don't really have much influence at all, unless they unionize, and then in which case they might have some level of power, and they can bargain with the boss.
No, they have a different set value of power, which is that if they have families and things like this, they're creating the mindset for the entire next generation. So that's the thing, is that that's a huge amount of power to give a man, that if you have multiple children, you can affect their mindset for how they live their lives in the next generation. You can affect significant change, especially if you can collectively change enough men's minds to teach their children the same value structure.
Yeah, you have power over your kids. You don't have power over like other people's kids unless you're like in entertainment. But anyway, we're kind of going off track. All right, what did you want to talk about, Niles, or based?
All I wanted to talk about was to go back toward the moral grounding discussion of Christianity with Andrew, if he was up for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to start by asking, like, Andrew, are you a divine?
You're really low. You're really low. I can't hear you very well.
Sorry, can you hear me better now?
See if Alex can turn your mic up a bit.
Yeah, this is already pretty good, but I'll turn it all the way up. Okay, try now.
Thank you. Am I better, Andrew?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, cool. I wanted to ask if you were a divine command theorist, meaning that whatever God says is moral by virtue of him saying it in your worldview.
Well, yeah. I mean, we do believe in divine command, but you would have to define it more clearly.
I just mean, like, for example, when God commanded Abraham to sacrifice Isaac or Ishmael, depending on the translation, was that moral because God commanded it, or did God consult a different moral code outside of his own opinion to propose that decree?
Yes, it's a moral action for God. All morality comes from God. That's correct.
Yes. So I just wanted to get that straight across. So, also, for you personally, do you have any qualms with the ability for people to receive forgiveness from God for their actions?
No.
Like, no matter the person, they can receive forgiveness from God, no matter what they do.
You got to speak up, bro. I'm sorry. I didn't catch the last part of what you said.
I'm sorry. I'm too
It's no
quiet.
problem.
I was just saying, no matter the person or what they do, they're able to receive forgiveness from God for their actions.
No, that's not correct.
Please explain. Like, what do you mean? What's an example?
Did I miss something?
That someone could take if they wouldn't be forgiven for? Yeah, like what's an action someone could take if they wouldn't be forgiven, want forgiveness and repented?
I literally can't hear you. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to. I want to have this conversation.
He wants to know what would happen that God couldn't forgive you. That's what he's asking.
I'm sorry. Can you hear me better now? Took my
yes,
out.
way better, dude. Way better. Okay, so can you repeat what you asked?
Say what I just said again.
Yeah.
Yes. What I'm saying. So any action a person takes, right? You have no issue with them being able to receive forgiveness from God for that action if they actually are sincere in their repentance.
Yeah, that would be correct.
Okay. And there's no limitations to that, right?
Yeah, this would be between them and God, correct.
All right, perfect.
So I don't make, in other words, I don't make claims as to who has salvation or who doesn't. The Orthodox don't either. Yeah.
That's absolutely fine. I think that's 100% in line with what the Bible teaches and says. So I don't think you're inerrant in any way in your Christianity. What I'm proposing to you is the ability for someone to do acts that are unvirtuous and repent is something that people who don't believe can also do. So if someone doesn't believe in the Christian God, or they believe in Allah, or they're a Jainist, they can also repent for their actions and seek penance in this life for things they do that are not virtuous. And because of that, I don't think that having a religious worldview places your grounding any firmer. Because if someone does something immoral, they can just sincerely believe and repent and be forgiven for that action and go to heaven anyway.
What if they do the action again the next day?
Then they weren't, obviously, because they were being insincere.
So this would be based around sincerity.
Yes, if someone truly believed that what they were doing was wrong and repented for it and vowed never to do it again.
Okay, so how would you know if they were sincere or not?
In their own opinion.
Would it be their own opinion, or is there works which are involved?
Their framework.
Well, no. So here's the delineation between you and I. You believe that if a person repents and you claim that they feel like they're being sincere about their repentance, that therefore they will receive salvation. However, that's not the viewpoint of the Orthodox. The Orthodox viewpoint is that salvation is a process. It's a lifetime process that requires endless amounts of works, right? So we're all sinners. We're all working towards not being sinners any longer. Right, chief of sinners, right here. I don't think that I'm any better than you in that department. I've sinned plenty, just like the degens. So salvation is a requirement of works over an elongated period of time. You don't just do one act and then you're saved. That's insane. So when we're comparing it to these other ideologies, what if they claim, for instance, like Protestants do, that if you just have Jesus in your heart, right, whatever that means, that you're saved? How would that be demonstrated? How would that be demonstrated?
That's a really difficult thing to do. In the States,
it's a really difficult thing to do
between Jews and Protestant Christians about that very question.
Yeah, because salvation's a process known as theosis, and that's why it's.
And I'm not here to promote sophistry, by the way. I don't believe that in moral relativism. If anyone thinks that direction, I was just presenting it as a thought experiment because I noticed that a lot of Christians, and I'm not throwing you in this bucket, Andrew.
No, I understand.
Have really big moral issues with people who don't believe talking about morality and grounding. And the biggest thing that I notice in these types of discussions is that even someone like Pol Pot, King Leopold II of Belgium, or Hitler could repent sincerely under Protestant Christianity.
Yeah, that's correct. Yes.
Believe in their heart, mind, and soul that they are under God's covenant and that they will be forgiven, and they will be able to ascend to heaven like anyone else.
Right,
and
but they have no sacraments. Right, but you have to have sacraments. That's part of the demonstration of works. Works are an important part of Christianity, which is left out often in Protestantism. Not by all sects, but by most. It's faith alone. It's called sola fide. And sola fide is part of the 5 solas. Sola fide means by faith alone. By faith alone, you'll be saved. We don't believe that that's true. We don't even believe in any of the 5 solas. We don't think that any of them are legitimate in and of themselves, that you have a church hierarchical structure, which is important as part of your salvation.
Niles, there's quite a few people backstage. Do you just want to talk about religion, or is there anything else you want to discuss?
That was the main meat of it. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate it. I hope we can have a conversation down the road, bro.
Yeah,
because I really enjoyed that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I'll put you guys together. Thanks, Niles. Appreciate you, buddy.
Have a good day, man.
No problem.
All right, so you're cool with Grace now, right?
Yeah, I don't care.
All right, cool.
Well, can I ask something?
What's up, Grace?
Hey, Alex.
Yeah, sure. Okay, you go Tarif, then Grace.
All right. What I was gonna ask, what are your thoughts on like hedonism and the implications of hedonism in like modern day life? You know, like
I think his thoughts on hedonism are pretty clear. He's not a fan.
Hang on, let him ask.
And how hedonism has really affected the modern world as we speak.
Now, do you mean? I just want to make sure I get kind of our terms clear, if you don't mind. So, when you're asking about hedonism, do you mean self-indulgence, or do you mean hedonism in the sense of utilitarianism, which is that basically the best action is the one that creates the least amount of suffering and the most amount of pleasure?
Oh, like indulgence in like base carnal pleasures, like.
Yeah, so if we're just talking about indulgence, then that would just be materialism. And if we're talking about materialism and its effect on modernity, then it's one of the primary causes for why the world is so fucked up, is because of a materialist outlook,
right,
with a lack of any sort of spiritualism whatsoever.
And would you say that what was I gonna ask? Would you say that like
bro, are you okay? Like, I'm honest. Are you okay? Like, are you?
Andrew, this is the King of Kings. Please be respectful.
I'm thinking deeply about my next question. What would you say, like, about sex before marriage, and like how like
he's not a fan.
He's not a fan. Oh, okay.
Yeah. He's not a big fan of that. All right, Grace, what do you want to talk about?
I mostly just came up here to chill, but once again, I differ with Andrew on his point about that men control everything, because he knows I've had this experience with my mother where she completely turned on my family and got a restraining order against my dad. Men do not have control of their women like he thinks they do.
That's not my argument.
Yes, it is. You said men have control of everything. And the only control women have is the power that men give them.
Hang on, Stage, just calm down, Bruce. Tell me what my argument is.
I just said it. Repeat it back to me.
Okay, so you think that my argument is that men have control of their women?
You said men have control of their families, their life, they have a lot of power, and that women only have the power that men give them.
I agree.
That's correct. So let's start from the grounding. Where do rights come from?
God.
God grants you rights?
Mm-hmm.
What rights does God grant you?
The right to life, the right to respect, the right to
dignity. If God grants you the right to life, then why do children die?
He grants the right to, it's a God-given right that you should not be killed by other people. That doesn't mean that people won't die.
Okay, so it's not a right to life then. He grants you the right to not be murdered?
I mean, are we talking legal rights here?
No.
Okay,
I'm asking you specifically where rights come from. Tell me where they come from.
I don't know, like for example, like God gives a fetus the right to life.
Then why do fetuses die if they have a right to live?
Okay, so why do people die? It's a right to life. Like it's an essential right. You have a right to dignity.
You just keep on restating the question.
It's not.
I understand the question.
Okay, a right.
Because I asked it.
A right is not. It's not an obligation. It's not that you won't die, but it's that you have the right to life. You have the right to your own life.
So you said God gives you rights, right?
Mm-hmm.
What rights does God give you?
God gives you the right to marry who you want, for example.
God gives you the right to marry who you want. So how come there's men out there who might have women who marry other men besides them who they wanted to marry?
Okay, well, rights is a legalistic term. Society has to respect rights.
No, rights is also a philosophical term. So the question becomes, where do rights come? What do you think a right is? Let's start with that. What do you think a right is?
A right is a legal term that means you are entitled to something.
So you don't think that there's anything more innate than legality to rights?
Well, yeah, because it means you're entitled to something that's enforced.
I think that's a fair. I think that's a fair position. So if rights are a legality, meaning that they're a social construction that human beings come up with, they're not actually from God, right?
I mean, what would God give us? I would say He gives us gifts, like the gift of life, more than a right to life. That's given to us by society.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah. So then your position isn't that God gives you rights, but that rights are a social construction by people.
Yeah, like. Yeah, political.
Okay, so I think that that's fair. So if rights are a social construction of people, right, then who enforces the rights? Men or women?
Bingo.
I mean, I would say both, but if you want to talk about like in terms of power, physical power, then yes, men.
No, I'm just asking, hang on, stop. Listen very closely to my question. Who enforces rights? Who's the enforcement mechanism for the rights of women? Is it women or men?
I mean,
you know the answer.
Both enforce the rights.
Both? They both enforce the rights.
Yes, but
so how do women? So
power, men do. Men do.
So how do you enforce rights absent physical power?
Okay, well, women can call the police just like men.
And who comes and who shows up when women call the police?
Physical power is for men. Yes.
So how do you enforce rights absent physical power?
Well, there are lawmakers. There are people who do things absent than physical power.
And how do they enforce? How do they enforce all of those laws and regulations and things that they pass absent physical power?
You cannot.
Well, I mean, yeah. At the end of the day, when it comes down to it, it is physical.
So then, therefore, your rights. Therefore, the logical conclusion is your rights.
Wait.
Stop. So therefore, if all rights are enforced by men, and the rights of women are enforced by only physical power, which you just agreed with, and our logical conclusion has to be that all women's rights come from who?
Okay, fine. If you want to say
answer the question. Answer the question.
Andrew freaked out. Andrew, calm down. Calm down. Andrew.
Answer the question. Answer the fucking question.
Your camera. Okay.
That's what he's going to do with you if you don't answer the question.
You want to do your BDSM routine. I get it. Okay. All right. Calm down. All right. Yes, they come from men, but then why? Okay, so then following your argument, then why do women? You would say that women are doing things that aren't fair to men, right? For example, women can accuse men of rape, right? And there's no accountability if it's a false accusation, right?
And men have created that, and men enforce it. That's the point.
Andrew totally lost it. He needs.
That's my backup cam, and it fell off. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay, so according to your logic, if men enforce if men give women all their rights, then why do women have rights that hurt men? Why can women do things that hurt men? For example,
because men also give other men. Stop. I'll answer your question. Okay, because men also give other men rights.
Okay, well, why would men give other men rights that hurt them? Like, why would men enforce rights that actually hurt men?
They've done it since the dawn of time. So, for instance, hang on, I'm going to answer the question. Grace. One question at a time. Just one question at a time. To answer your first question, men have always done this. They've always been able to give rights to men and take rights away from men. So take slavery, for instance. Men can enslave other men. Men can also take themselves out of slavery, for instance. They can fight their way out of slavery. They can fight for a nation. They can form a new nation. They can do all of these different things, right? They grant rights to other men too. Sometimes the rights that they grant aren't fair to other men. There could be that there's specific pockets of men who think that certain men shouldn't have rights or that women should have more rights. But that doesn't mean that they're not coming from men. You just logically walked through how they are.
Okay, but so you said, like on a couple panels ago, you said that the reason that women can do things that hurt men is because men are simps and women have convinced them to give them rights that aren't fair.
Yeah, there's some truth to that. That's true. Yeah.
Okay, so then don't women have power according to your logic? If women can convince men to give them those rights, then women have the ultimate power.
Women do. Men. Stop. You're right to an extent that women do exercise some autonomy when it comes to seduction, convincing, conniving, all that type of different stuff, right? Now, men can do this too. It's not exclusionary to women. But yeah, women do tend to exercise power softly, but that really doesn't change the fact that their rights are going to be enforced, or whatever they want enforced in society is going to be enforced by men. Whether they can convince men to do it or not, that's a completely different matter, because when men decide to stop doing it, women have no recourse at all. None.
But if women can convince men to do something, then women are the ones who have the ultimate power.
Yeah, but men can convince men to do no, because men can convince men to do it too. So it's never an equal playing field. This is the problem that you have with your logic, is it's never an equal playing field. Everything that a woman can do, as far as conniving, backbiting, even seduction, all of these different things, men can also do those things. The only difference is that women will always have to rely on men for the enforcement arm of whatever outcomes they want to see in society. Always. There's no choice about it. So here's the distinction. So if men collectively all get together and they say, you have no more rights, women have no more rights. But if women all get together and say, men, you have no more rights, we go, fuck you. And there's nothing women can do about that. That's the distinction.
Oh, okay, but let's say all men come together and say women have no rights. Okay, do women still have inalienable rights given to them by God?
No, this is axiomatic. Just like you just agreed, there's no rights inherent from God. The reason that you agreed to that is because if we say that you have a right and yet the right's not enforced, how is it a right?
This is a good comment.
But just because something isn't enforced doesn't mean it's a right. Just because something's isn't enforced doesn't mean
you just got done telling me, Grace. You said that rights
do I have a right? Wait. Do I have a right over my own body?
Legal.
Do I have a right over my own body?
You don't have any rights. I don't think rights exist. I think they're made up fiction.
What? Your whole argument is that men will always be able to enforce rights.
Yeah, because the men are the ones who determine what rights are.
No, God is the one who determines what rights are.
You just got done saying rights are only legal.
They are respected by society, but if somebody rapes me, I still have the right to my own body. I still have the right. They are just disrespecting
what gives you that right?
God.
So then how come God doesn't stop you from getting raped?
Because God does not. I mean, that's a stupid question. God doesn't.
Well, then answer the question. If it's a stupid question, then answer it.
If it's not
right, so then we're back to
legalese. I don't have any rights.
We're back to legalese.
Right over my own body, right? As a person.
Stop, Grace. You can't make the conflation of legalese versus right from God. You say God gives you the right to not get raped. Then how come you can be raped if you have such a right? Answer my question.
Well, would you say that I have the right to?
Don't answer my question with a question. Answer my question.
How does God allow things? Okay, do you have? How does God allow?
That's not my question. That's not my question. My question specifically, I'm going to tell it to you again. If you have a right from God to not be raped, then how come you can be raped?
Okay, if I have a right from society to not be
Don't
raped,
answer my question with a question. Just answer my question.
Happen. People get disrespected.
Stop answering my question with a question. Just answer my question.
She can't answer it.
God is not a legal arbiter. You can't say
well, I didn't say he was. You say you're making the conflationary term again between legalese and an inherent right. So I'm saying if you have the inherent right to not get raped because God gives you such a right, then how come you can still be raped? It makes no sense.
There's an easy explanation. God has a rape kit.
No. I want Grace to answer me. Answer the question, Grace. You can just say that you don't know.
Society has rights. You could say, how come society gives you the right over your own body, and yet you can still be raped? Does that mean the right doesn't exist?
Yes, and that's my argument. Thank you.
Okay, so society says that you have a right to your own body, and people disrespect that and break the law and violate your right, and yet that means
because the law, because absent enforcement, there is no law. Right. Yeah, that's right. What makes it an actual right that can't be taken away? Absent enforcement.
Because, hold up. There are rights in society that people have that are broken by other people. That doesn't mean those rights don't exist.
Where do they come from?
The rights in society, they come from society, from laws.
So men make them up, right?
Maybe, yeah.
Okay, so if men make them up and if men stop enforcing them, then that means that you no longer have that right, doesn't it?
No, but it's not enforced just because if somebody violates your right to something, like if somebody rapes you, that doesn't mean that your right doesn't exist. It just means that somebody's violating your right.
So what makes the right in existence if people say you don't have that right? What makes it exist? What makes it real? What makes it not fiction? Is it like a rock? Is it like a tree? Can I touch it? Can I smell it? Can I taste it? Can I see it? Where are these rights? Point to the rights, Grace. Point to the rights. Where can I see them?
They're on the right tree,
they're not physical doesn't mean that it doesn't
right.
exist.
So that they're immaterial. So that's right. So if they're not physical and they're immaterial and they're social constructions and we made them up, that means that absent us enforcing them, they don't fucking exist, do they?
No. Because people say, like, if there are rules and somebody breaks a rule, that doesn't mean that the rule doesn't exist as a rule. That means that
how does the rule exist?
Violating the rule.
Okay, so how did the rule get made to begin with?
Well, people come up with rules.
Right. So if people decide to stop enforcing those rules, do those rules exist anymore?
I don't know. If somebody
what do you mean you don't know?
Something that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. For example, there are laws that aren't enforced. Does that mean those laws don't exist? No, but yes.
Well,
right. They don't exist in. They're not enforced. So like, actively they don't exist. But they still
they don't exist.
Those rules still.
So these are immaterial. So these are immaterial things that are socially constructed that we come up with, and absent enforcement, they don't actually exist. You claim earlier God is the one who gives you the rights, but then when I ask you how come those rights can be violated, your answer is, well, because they're actually legal. So then when we go over to legal and ask the same exact question, your answer is, I don't know. I don't know how it could be that you have something that's socially constructed and made up that if somebody violates it, that it can't be just tossed right out the window because there's no enforcement. There is no such thing as a right, Grace. They don't exist. If you can demonstrate that a right exists, I want to hear it.
Okay, then what is your argument that men
don't answer the question with a question?
But then how does your argument make sense that men have all this power over women because they're the one who enforce women's rights?
Because they're the arbiters of what is a right.
No, but men aren't the arbiters of what is right. God is the arbiter of what is right. Men decides what's right through reason and conscience.
Okay, let's back up. Say that you have a bunch of evil men who decide that they're not going to follow what God says, which has happened historically many, many times. You would agree, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Is God going to stop them from raping and pillaging?
No.
No. So then those rights obviously aren't coming from God to say that they can't be violated, because they can be violated. So the question becomes this idea of a right. Where does a right come from other than we make them up and then enforce them through literally just brute force? For instance, if somebody comes to your home and they want to hurt you, you say you're violating my rights. Men have to then come and enforce your rights on your behalf, right?
Okay, but okay, so maybe I mischaracterized it. God does not give us rights. God doesn't owe us anything. Okay, but God gives us reason and conscience, which then help us to determine what people's rights are legally that are enforced by men. I agree with you, men, right?
And there we go, Grace. So hang on, Grace. So then, Grace, all you have to do is concede. All you have to do is concede to the argument then that all rights come from men.
Well, okay, if you want to say everything that comes through men through God, then that's
argument.
fine.
The argument's done, Grace. Thank you so
But
much.
you said
I appreciate the
rights don't
concession.
exist. You said rights don't exist.
That's right. They don't exist except as a construction of what men make up.
No, but that's not a construction of what men make up. That's a construction of what men interpret through reason and conscience, which is given to them by God.
Like taxes. Yeah.
So do you think that all societies, even absent God, can come up with laws and come up with individual rights?
Societies absent God? I mean, all of us have a reason and conscience. We all have that. We all have an ingrained sense of
That's
morality.
not my question, though. My question is,
what do you mean outside of God?
Yeah, so if people reject God, let's say they're part of the satanic church, for instance, can they come up with a codified system of rights that you could then follow?
Could they potentially? Yeah. Would they be
so then
the
conduit? So then this conduit to God that you're talking about, this is not always a direct one-to-one for what men can come up with positive or negative rights. Can't, right? Is that correct?
Yeah,
is that
that's
correct?
true. But what we use to measure whether those rights are fair, who determines whether a right is just or unjust? Who determines it?
Well, so
judges.
What the founders did was they said it was axiomatic. They judged it on an axiom. We hold these truths to be self-evident. That would be axiomatic. They say rights are axiomatic. They're self-evident. You're making the same claim.
What they're saying
hang on,
it comes from reason and conscience.
Well, they didn't specify, but I think that I could probably grant that it comes from at least reason. Conscience, I'm not so sure, but maybe reason at least. But they're saying these are axiomatic. So it's known to everybody that these things are self-evident. However, they're not axiomatic because different cultures don't follow those laws or those rights. So how can they be axioms? They're not axioms. So you say that rights come from God. Okay, fair enough. Which right comes from God?
I'm not saying rights come from God. God doesn't owe us anything. What I'm saying is
So rights come from men.
Well, rights come from men, but what they come from is men based on their reason and conscience and following God.
But they still come from men.
Legal rights that are like justified. There can be unjust rights too. For example, in our society, a woman has the right to divorce a man for no reason and take half his money, right? There's no fault divorce. That's a legal right.
That's correct.
I agree is enforced by men if you want to talk about physically, but that does not come from God. That is an unjust right.
Yeah, I agree.
That is not inspired by God.
It still comes from men.
That right exists. It exists.
Where does it exist?
What do you mean? What? You just agreed that it's a right. What do you mean? Now you're saying it doesn't exist?
I didn't say it's a right. I don't believe in rights. I told you that 50 times.
I said it's an unjust right, and you said, yeah, it is.
Yeah, I would say it's an unjust right that a man created. That this is your viewpoint. So you say unjust men can create rights. I say, okay, if unjust men can create rights, it's still men creating rights. That's my point.
Real quick, I think this is an interesting super chat. Men violate the 10 Commandments and God doesn't enforce them. Are the commandments false then?
No.
Okay.
No. But that doesn't mean that you have a right, or that God is going to enforce some right on your behalf to not be murdered, because this would actually be the antithesis to free will. You would have to necessarily take away people's free will in order for God to give them God-given rights. You understand that, right, Grace?
Yeah, I agree that God doesn't owe it. A right is saying you are owed this by something.
Right.
Okay, and God doesn't owe us anything.
So I think you get it now. I think you understand now.
But the definition, but the distinction between rights and whatever gifts from God or whatever, it's not rights from God. But you're saying rights don't exist at all? No, there's clearly something.
Well, where are they?
Tell us that rights are owed to people.
Where are rights? Where are these rights?
What are you saying? Because it's not a physical thing that it doesn't exist. So
yes.
Truth. Couldn't I ask you where's truth? Point to truth. That's a stupid argument. You're smarter than that.
So hang on. So back up. You say point to truth. A subjectivist could tell you that there's no such thing as objective truth. However, I believe in objective truth because I think God's word, and you believe this too, that God's word is objective truth. So I can point to truth. I can look at the Bible and look at the church, point to both and say you get truth there.
No, but truth is a concept. Those are words. You could say, and a subjectivist.
So you don't believe in objective? You don't believe in objective morality?
I believe in objective truth, but it's not a physical
reality. So where do you get
reality.
it? Where do you get it? Where do you get it except from physical reality? Truth is pointing to something in physical reality. For instance, Grace, are you having a conversation right now?
Yes.
Is that true?
I don't know.
Yes.
How do you know?
Because it lines up with reality.
Thank you, Grace.
But well, how do I know that? Well, yeah. Okay, so you're saying that metaphysical concepts are all based in physicality. So do I have a conscience? Do you have a conscience?
I think you do. Yeah, probably.
Okay, is that a physical reality?
Conscience? I think that there are physical parameters that assist or desist with conscience or conscience.
Is a conscience a physical reality?
I'm trying to figure out what you mean by this.
Don't
is conscience or are you talking about consciousness or your conscience?
No, conscience, your sense of right and wrong. Is that a physical reality?
I think that there are physical elements which relate to it so that you can inform whether or not conscience is correct. Well, conscience is a conceptualization of a physical manifestation of X thing which happened.
Yo, real quick, this guy's super chat, so I want to read this. Grace, ask Andrew if rights don't exist. How can they be enforced by men or come from men if he thinks it's non-existent?
God, this is so low tier. I've answered this 40 times.
I know.
It's a social construction. Rights are a social construct, so they don't exist in material reality. There is no such thing as a right to material reality. It doesn't exist. It's like gender. It doesn't exist in material reality. It's a made-up terminology, which points to a concept. And the concept is just X thing cannot be done to you, or else there's going to be enforcement, which stops that thing. It's an immaterial thing. So I can admit, of course, that you can have a conceptualization as a social construction that you call a right. I think that that's fair to do, but that really doesn't have any bearing on whether or not it objectively exists, because it doesn't.
Okay, but you just said, how do I know what truth is? And you said you could point to the Bible and say that's the truth. So if you say,
I'm giving you examples.
If you say, how do you know what rights are? Can't I point to the Constitution and say there they are?
Well, you can point to the Constitution and say there's a piece of paper there. There's writing on that piece of paper, and the writing expresses, like the Second Amendment says, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Verbatim. Okay. What makes that true?
But can I ask the same question of you? If you point to the Bible,
well, don't ask me. Don't ask me question again.
I point to the Bible.
Just answer the question. Answer the question. What makes it true that a well-regulated militia is necessary to the security of a free state, that the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed? Your Second Amendment right. What makes it true when people can come in and infringe right now on your Second Amendment right? What makes it true?
I actually don't think that's a true right. I don't think you have the right to bear arms against
because the rights are just in your head and they're socially constructed, and you made them the fuck up. Everybody makes them the fuck up.
Couldn't somebody say that about the Bible? If I ask you,
they could, but then we could get into the differential, because you cannot have objective standards of truth without a grounding foundation of God. It's impossible. That's why. So we know we have knowledge through our epistemology because of our faith in God. Catholics believe this exact same thing.
But what I'm saying is, you say they're not real. You're saying rights aren't real.
Yes, they're not real. But they're also not metaphysical. They're socially constructed.
This is just
there are metaphysical things which are real, like consciousness, the mind. That would be metaphysical. It is real. The laws of logic are immaterial, but they're real. However, these things you're talking about are social constructions. You might as well be talking about a unicorn or a leprechaun or something like this.
All right, guys.
No, but that's not true. It's not a social construction. It is real. You know that it's real. That a person
I'll let you guys know.
Not real. Not real.
That's a real.
How is it real? How is it real?
That's a real truth. If you saw a kid getting killed, you'd say that kid objectively has the right to his life. And you'd know that was true. You wouldn't say, oh, well, that's just a social construct that somebody made up. And if somebody else doesn't believe that that social construct applies, then it's not real. That kid doesn't have a real
So what
right
you're
to
saying,
his life.
so what you're saying is that I, a man, would see that and say, this is a violation of his rights, and go enforce his rights for him that I made up for him. Right, Grace?
No, I'm saying man or woman. It's not that rights are just a social construct. They are real. You believe that they're real because if you saw somebody's basic rights being violated, you would say that's not just a social construct that's not being followed. That's a right that that person has that should be upheld. And
no, I wouldn't be defending this person based on.
I'm going to make the executive decision to move past this discussion because we're going circles.
Thank you.
Fair enough.
Let's let Mitch Murphy say his piece.
Hey, what's up, you guys? Thanks, Alex, for hosting the debate. Thanks, everybody, for coming in. Nice job, Grace. So I'm here. I just wanted to challenge Andrew a little bit. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
So I just wanted to challenge Andrew a little bit. And if you guys don't mind, I'm kind of moving backwards a little bit to earlier in the show. I'm here in defense of the degenerates because, as it turns out, most degenerates aren't able to make a very good case for themselves and their worldview. So, Andrew, I've got a question for you.
All our blood is in our penis. We can't. We don't.
Right. So, Andrew, will you define degenerate as without morals? Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Now, most degenerates that I talk to, if I speak to them, they say, well, I make up my own morality. Based off some sort of intuition, natural law. They often appeal to stuff like that. That's maybe not super coherent, and I would concede that. However, what I'm trying to call into question here is whether or not you are actually in a better position than them. Because, and I just want to make sure that I'm not misrepresenting you. I'm not trying to strawman you or anything like that. But if you're speaking to a degenerate person and they say, well, I make up my own morality, you would still say that that person classifies as degenerate, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So if this person makes up their own morality as they go, maybe they draw from culture, from movies, from people that they know, maybe their feelings, stuff like that. If that classifies them as a degenerate, what I'm wondering is that if the Christian is actually in a better position, because the Christian, for one, has to look at the different religions and decide which religion is true. And then let's say they go beyond that, they say, okay, I'm going to pick Christianity. Well, then at that point, they have to go between Catholicism, Orthodoxy, Protestantism. Let's say they pick Orthodoxy. From that point, they have to pick between ROCOR, OCA, Antiochian. They have all these different jurisdictions. And even from within that, they have to choose when they listen to their priest say something or the bishop say something, they have to weigh it against the rudder that the Orthodox Church is run on. And they have to, basically, it all comes down to the individual person deciding what is moral and what is not. And so I'm just wanted to pose that challenge to you, Andrew, to see how you'd respond with the potential that you may not be in a better position than the degenerate.
Do you think that you can know what the truth is? Do you believe in objective truth?
Sure. Yeah.
How do you know if it's objective truth?
Well, if I was a degenerate, I might say it's based off my intuition, or if I was in a different position, I might say that I weigh it logically. I look at the different worldviews.
So if you have one person who has an intuition for something which is true, and a second person has an intuition which is against that, how would we arbitrate which is correct?
Probably through the laws of logic, right?
The laws of logic are going to be able to defeat intuition? It's not illogical to kill It's not illogical to kill somebody. Tell me why it is. What's the performative contradiction with killing somebody? Why would that be a violation of the laws of logic, sir?
Well, I guess you could say.
Show me the performative contradiction. That would be the only thing that could violate the laws of logic. What is the performative contradiction of killing somebody?
Man, he's using a lot of big words, getting me all spun up here. I guess what I'm saying is that if you
answer my question, I just listen. You remember how you asked me 4 different questions, and I said yes, that's correct, absolutely, yes. Yeah, just answer my fucking questions, okay? So I want a specific answer to this. Is it right or wrong to have sex with a corpse?
Wrong. It's objectively
How do you
wrong.
know? How do you know it's objectively wrong as an atheist to have sex with a corpse?
Well, it depends on how hot the corpse is.
Well, I would say because I picked a moral code that tells me it's wrong.
And if somebody else picks a moral code that says it's right, how do you know they're wrong?
Well, I suppose you'd have to argue. right? Which is where logic would come into the play.
So give me the performative contradiction.
The contradiction is that both people, at the end of the day, have decided to believe something, to believe in an external moral code. And so
what's the contradiction?
The contradiction is that both people,
Alex,
it came down to an individual deciding that it's wrong.
What's the contradiction?
The contradiction is that regardless of which code you've picked, and regardless of who's correct or who's not, both people have picked one.
So there's no contradiction. So what's the contradiction?
Am I missing something here?
Do you know what a what do you know what contradiction means?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, then the laws of logic require, if you say you could argue with logic for why something is true or false, you're looking for a performative contradiction to know that something's illogical. That's the only way you can say it's illogical. So what's the performative contradiction between somebody in group A who says it's okay to have sex with a corpse, and in group B they say it's not? You say that you can logically determine that. You can only logically make an argument against them by showing a contradiction. So show the contradiction.
Well, because your penis will be smelly.
Nice. Wow.
Not a contradiction.
Nice.
What's the contradiction, bro?
So what I'm saying is, if there's two individuals both agree that, let's say, necrophilia is wrong, not just yucky like Alex here, but like two people both say that it's wrong.
Yeah, both people say it's wrong.
But both people say that the other one's worldview is incorrect. They both have come to this conclusion about something.
Yeah.
Somebody has to be correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So where's the contradiction? How do we know which one's correct without the contradiction?
So in order to dig up the contradiction, wouldn't you have to use logic and examine both people's
That's what I'm asking you. I'm asking you to use logic to show me the contradiction, why it's wrong to have sex with a corpse. Show me. Tell me logically why it's wrong. Can you do that or not?
Yeah, I would say it's wrong because I have picked a moral code that tells me that it's wrong.
And so if somebody else picks a moral code that tells them that it's right, why would they be wrong?
Well, we would have to observe. We would have to observe their worldview, correct?
Their worldview is it's not wrong, you dunce.
Can I argue for him?
Yeah, please. Anybody can argue for him. Holy shit!
I'll throw in one
the
thing.
Argument or against necrophilia would be that it would be dishonoring and disrespecting the dead, because the dead, once a person dies, they don't have a free will of their own.
They have a right not to get fucked after they die.
So hang on. So let's back up. Hang on. You think in your worldview, necrophilia is wrong because a person has right to not be disrespected after death?
Yes.
And what gives them that right?
Men.
Because that's basically because they don't have a free will of their own. They don't have their life essence has been.
This is all begging the question. What gives them the right? Stop begging the question.
Right.
You're just reaffirming the question. I know what the question is because I just asked it. Why is it wrong?
Okay, here let me try to explain. A potential contradiction would be that as a human being, your goal is to reproduce, and having sex with a corpse is contrary to your natural purpose.
Yeah, natural law. Yeah.
So that could be one, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Grace, you don't believe in natural law? You're not a naturalist. You're a Catholic.
Roman Catholics believe in that.
What's natural law, Grace?
It's the law of nature, the law of what God provides.
The law of nature.
Yeah.
What
like the
laws,
logic of nature, like what Alex said.
Tell me what
the
law
reproductive system is for having children, and so sex should not be had in a way that isn't going open to the possibility of children.
Another potential contradiction.
That's natural law.
So then, how come, if that's a law, a natural law, how come people can get pregnant outside of marriage, Grace?
It's not a law, like it's not a legal law. It's a natural law. That's how.
So then it's not a law.
It's human nature.
Then it's not a law.
It's the law of nature.
You just said it's a law of nature.
Legalistic.
No, you just said that it's a law of nature.
Do you think the phrase natural law means something that's enforced by judges? No.
Well, what is it?
it's the way that it's human nature. It's the way that nature works.
It's the way that nature works. So you would say that nature works in this way, that if you have sex with a woman, they get pregnant.
Yes.
So how's that a violation of natural law, Grace?
Because natural law is that what are you saying? What are you saying? Natural law also implies that because a man and a woman have sex to reproduce a child, that the man and woman should both take care of the child. So that's why it's against natural law.
Why does any of that require marriage, Grace?
Well, because marriage is the most fitting way for two people
to
bond.
But you can still have the child. But you can still have the child outside of that. You can still have the child outside of that. Hang on. What makes it unnatural to do so?
Well, because naturally what's best for a child is two parents who are together.
You can have those things without a marriage. You just conceded that.
No, that's what a marriage is. Two people.
You can have that absent marriage.
How can you have that absent marriage? That's what marriage is. Two people committing.
No, marriage is a sacrament, a religious sacrament.
Right,
you're a Catholic. You're a Catholic.
A sacrament, but a sacrament.
Are you married in the Catholic? Are you married in the Catholic Church if you shack up with a woman for life, Grace?
No.
No, because it's a sacrament, right, Grace? So how come you can say that that's natural law?
Well,
how can you say it's natural law that if two people shack up for life, that makes no sense?
Well, marriage is natural. It's just the church recognizing and confirming something that is natural law. It's also a sacrament, but it is natural law in the sense that it's the natural way for two people to raise a child in the most healthy way possible.
Yeah. What makes it natural if there's no sacrament required? Why should a person become Catholic and engage in the sacrament? If there's a violation of natural law, what's the punishment for the violation of natural law?
What is the punishment for the violation of natural law? I guess that you will be unhappy because you're doing things that are unnatural. They're not good for you.
Oh, right. Yeah. All these degens, they seem real fucking unhappy when we're arguing with them, don't they? All they do is make the case that pleasure is the maximum. Pleasure is everything. That's what they're always arguing. Could you argue then that hedonism is part of natural law, since that seems to be the predilection of most people to move towards that?
Well, I mean, no, because natural law is sort of like morality, right? It's like kind of like it's like a guideline to help us live the best lives possible, right? So like the sacrament.
So then there is no natural law?
The sacrament adds God's grace.
So it's God's law, not natural law. There is no laws of nature.
Natural law is God's law. God made nature, right?
Well, I mean, God, by this logic, though, God made everything, right?
Yes.
Okay, so if God made everything, does that mean that the people he made who are hedonists are supposed to be hedonists?
No, because the punishment for them not following natural law is their own misery. For example, if you have a lot of sex will become something that doesn't bond you. You can't produce children in a healthy way. You won't have a good family life, etc., etc., etc. The punishment is your own misery.
Is that true in every case?
So that's the natural law.
Is that true in every case?
Yes, that's true in every case. Yeah.
In every case, can you demonstrate that it's true in every case that people live their whole life after having a child outside of wedlock with each other and they shack up for the rest of their life, that they're not happy till the very day they die? Can you demonstrate that?
Well, they don't have a marriage, a sacramental marriage, you're saying?
They don't have a marriage. They're not married. They decided not to get married. We don't want to be married. They just shack up for the rest of their entire lives.
Yes. Okay. I can. Yes, because if they never commit to each other, and God's grace is not added to that marriage, then they will never. They will both. They never have a commitment to each other. That's not.
They did commit to each other.
No,
they
committed. Don't commit to each other.
They did. They looked at each other. They looked at each other.
Got married.
They looked at each other and they said, "We're going to commit to each other for the rest of our lives."
Okay, but
we're not going to get married
by the Catholic Church. Why wouldn't they get married then? I don't understand.
Because they don't want to get married. I don't know. Because she doesn't want to. They don't want to.
Well, there must be.
They just don't feel. They don't feel like it.
Why wouldn't they want their commitment?
Because they don't want a chick to take half their shit. Let's say that.
Okay. Well. I mean, that's a very specific. I could even see that. Like, that's saying that they have an issue with the laws of divorce and stuff. Okay. That's basically marriage, though. That's basically marriage.
It's not marriage. Marriage is a sacrament.
In this current society, if we get married and even married by the Catholic Church, but our marriage is recognized by civil law, and that means that you can get privately married, but what you're essentially describing is a private marriage.
Can you get privately married by the Catholic Church?
Well, I mean, you can. Romeo and Juliet, right? I mean, you can get privately.
Romeo and Juliet were married?
You can make a commitment to somebody that is
Romeo and Juliet were married.
You can make yes, it's a valid marriage. If you commit to somebody, you don't have to have a representative there. If you commit to somebody, you don't have to. Two people can get married in a desert.
Where did Romeo and Juliet get married?
They didn't get formally married. You're making a distinction between formal.
So shacking up with a chick. So you heard it here, ladies and gentlemen. Shacking up with a chick for the rest of your life, that's marriage. Genius Grace, brilliant stuff.
Well, if it's a private marriage and you don't want to get civilly married because you don't agree with the laws around civil marriage, that's still a marriage. It's essentially a commitment to the other person for life. That is a marriage. Now, if two people just decide to live with each other,
what's the sacrament for? So what's the sacrament?
You add God's grace into.
So that's what makes it a legitimate marriage, right, Grace?
No.
No, it's not what makes it a legitimate marriage. What makes it a legitimate marriage?
We should go back to necrophilia.
The legitimacy of the marriage is that those two people both make a solid vow. That's the legitimacy.
Fine, Grace.
The church is not necessary.
Like whatever you say.
Would you not say that if two people are in a desert and they're about to die and they say or like not even about to die, two people are in a desert,
arguing to
not
argue?
Going to be.
I don't know what she's even.
I'm
kind of done at this point.
Like 30 fucking minutes of just arguing to argue nothing. A marriage is a vow between you're circular. Yeah, just keep talking. Just keep talking.
The priest is only there to be a witness.
You're just arguing
to
argue.
The priest is only there to be a witness.
Yo, shut up.
I just want to know if Andrew thinks it's. I want to know if Andrew thinks it's okay to fuck a corpse. Andrew, is it okay?
No. Finally, a question.
Why?
Okay.
Why not?
I want to get back to since you brought up the corpse fucking thing. I want to get back to that because Andrew was asking
issues that matter.
Andrew was asking like how you would know that that's objective, and so obviously someone's worldview, that's subjective, that's not objective, but that is a good answer. Obviously people are going to have different worldviews. There's different Christians who are going to have different worldviews on that. I'm sure there's people who are going to claim Christian who
there's not a single Christian on planet Earth who believes in
your mind there's no
necrophilia.
legitimate Christians.
Give me a single give me even an alt sect that believes in necrophilia. Go ahead.
How about
that's
some
not
Christians
my main argument. So that's just, obviously there's going to be, there's going to be people who claim every ideology who, believe in whatever. But what makes things, quote unquote, objective morality, what makes it objective is that we've evolved these traits over time. We have amygdalas and people share these moralities objectively between everyone. And the reason we share these moralities is because we've evolved them. The people who didn't have these moralities were likely ostracized and, kicked out of their cultures and killed. So we've evolved to have these sort of ideologies, like not fucking corpses and not murdering others and like respecting.
Well, then why do people do it?
Because people are psychopaths, and those people
are they evolved to be psycho? Are they evolved to be psychopaths?
No, I mean, did people evolve to be mentally deficient?
I mean, they must have if they evolved to have moral codes.
No, I mean, so you're saying people with Down syndrome evolved to be that way?
Well, no, I'm not saying that. I'm asking if you have a person who looks just like you, operates just like you, but is some type of sociopath, let's say.
A sociopath wouldn't operate just like me. They might have
a
way to mimic. They might have a way to mimic.
Well, no, stop. Let me ask my question. How do you know a sociopath isn't evolved to be a sociopath?
Because they are in the small percentage of society. So
So then homosexuals also are not evolved to be homosexuals?
Yeah. I mean, I never said that. It's a completely different argument.
Okay, so then
that doesn't make it not right, but that's a completely different thing.
Stop.
Because stop. Wait.
So then all minorities, groups and all minority beliefs are evolved incorrectly.
Someone being homosexual isn't going against what people's amygdala is telling them. When people see people being homosexual.
You're just talking.
I need to respond to the homosexuality thing because I know the argument you're trying to make.
What's the argument I'm trying to make?
Well, you're trying to say that sexuality is in the small percentages, and people
by your evolutionary worldview, and this is not even what evolutionists believe, but by your worldview, you would have to concede that all percentiles of minority groups, regardless of what they were not evolved to be in that minority group. What's the percentage differential to break out of that mold? How many need to be in the group before we know they weren't evolved to be in this particular group? Can you tell me that?
Well,
what's the percentage?
When it's in a standard deviation of when it's in about 3 standard deviations above average, I'd say that they're probably not in the evolutionary elite. You know what I mean? There's a reason that they're so
What's
rare.
the evolutionary elite?
That might be elite if they're rare.
Well,
what does that mean?
People who are average, you know, people who evolved to be the way that they are right now, because
that doesn't answer my
years
question.
of evolution, we have become
this does
way.
not answer my question. This is just
What's
you
your
bloviating.
question?
My question is, what's the delineation breaker for, we know this group didn't evolve to be this way because everybody evolved to be this way. How do we know which evolved to be which way?
It's percentages. Who is the average?
Yeah, what's the percentage?
I don't know exactly the percentage. It's who's
Well,
average.
what's the
Are they
blockage?
within the standards deviation? If, if
1% can be an average. 1% can be an average, because if you have 51% of people do X and 48% of people do X, isn't the 51% the average?
Sure, but it's
okay.
Never
Well, then if you have
48% of people having sex with corpses.
No, you don't, but that's not really my point. You said it's based on averages. You said that what's evolved to do, just based on averages.
It's based off of who is around the average, not based off of the exact averages or the means or anything like that.
It's based around the averages. So on average, these people do everything else every other Homo sapien does except this one thing, and you're saying that they weren't evolved to do that one thing. Prove it.
How would I prove it? It's just based off
it's
of
your
what
claim. You prove
because,
it.
Because
it's
we
your
could,
claim.
Obviously, I don't have any studies right now, but you could have 100 people in a room, ask them why necrophilia is bad, religion or not, and 99% of them are going to say, yes, that's disgusting, that's abhorrent.
So
and
does
the
all
reason
of your
why it isn't because of religion, it's not because of some moral code, it's due to their amygdala. It's because
so tell me this.
That's our psychology, and we've evolved that psychology over time.
Yeah, okay. Do you believe that morals, what is moral, is what you're evolved to do?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So why is rape wrong?
We haven't been evolved to rape.
Oh, we haven't, eh?
Well, yeah, there's a reason why when you see rape, you find it either abhorrent or disgusting. It's because
not all societies think that, and traditionally have not thought that. There's many societies which don't, in any way, shape, or form, give any credence to rape whatsoever. They don't give a shit about it.
Well, you can say that, but you don't know their own perspective, right?
The whole society doesn't care. They have laws which respect the men and treat the women like chattel. They don't give a fuck.
Okay, by that same argument, there's Christian societies. There's Christian societies who have had slaves. So I mean, you know, they didn't give a fuck either. Obviously,
yeah, this is the critique of your worldview for evolution. So the critique in your worldview of evolution is that only things are moral that we were evolved to do. You don't think that men were evolved to commit rape, though?
So the problem with things like that, with things like rape or cultures that have been have things normalized or have had certain cultures demonized against them, is those are very particular case-by-case scenarios that you have to break down. There's cultures There's cultures that have used religion to successfully dehumanize women within society so that people don't care about rape.
Women were evolved to wear burqas. Women were evolved to wear burqas.
If you take a person who wasn't, just had a natural setting, and I guess this is just a bet, but I guarantee if you were to take a person at a natural setting, they're not going to be okay with
women were evolved to wear burqas. Just say women were evolved to wear burqas. Women were evolved to wear burqas. Just say it.
No, that's religion. Religious people
How are you not evolved? How are you not evolved to follow a religion? Considering the average is that everybody does. Almost everybody on planet Earth does.
Over the past 2,000 years.
That
has to do with our philosophy, and the reason we developed these philosophy is also due
to evolution.
So, do you want to know why? Do you want to know why we have developed these sort of philosophies? In my opinion.
From the evolutionary worldview, you would say it's for the purpose of self-preservation and the continuance of humankind.
Yes, that's exactly why. I'm glad you know the answer.
Well, that's because I understand evolution. You don't understand evolution. You don't understand that evolution happens to the entire group. All of the group at the same time, at the same rate, over an elongated period of time.
No, but genetic mutations happen. Some are negative and
Stop cutting me off. Let me finish, and then I'll let you finish, okay? It happens over an elongated period of time to an entire group over that elongated period of time, which means you shouldn't have Middle Easterners who are evolved to want to put burqas on women and women to want to put the burqas on. But they do that shit. You say, well, this is just cultural. It has nothing to do with evolution. But everything, including religion, you just conceded is part of the evolutionary mechanism. So they were evolved to do it.
Because human philosophy is somewhat flawed. It causes us to contradict our own morals.
Evolution made a mistake.
Yeah, I mean, in some ways it did, because
it made it with you. It made it with you, bro.
Hold on. Can I jump in here?
Sure.
Andrew, I feel like Andrew's always doing the interrogating. I just want to know how far Andrew can get with the line of questioning. Like, Andrew, is it okay to fuck a corpse?
No.
Why not?
Because God commands that you can't.
How do you know that?
I know it because my worldview is the only thing which has a justification for epistemology and ontology.
When you say that, do you mean all of Christianity or your brand of Christianity?
God, period, is the only thing. So you have to at least start with the groundwork of understanding that there's transcendental categories which exist. You would agree that that's true, right?
Of course, yeah.
Okay, so what are the transcendental categories which exist?
Well, are you talking about like objective, subjective, and
no? I'm talking about transcendental categories.
I don't know.
You don't know. So you agree that they exist, but you don't know what they are. Next question, please.
Well, hold on. So what I'm trying to get...
How dumb are you fucking people? I don't even get it at this point. How fucking dumb are you people?
I have a very serious question for Andrew. Andrew, have you ever had like a hardcore like religious?
Hey, look, hang on. Before that guy who just left, come back. I'm just fucking with you. I'm just messing around.
So
I'm not trying to ostracize you.
I need to respond to the thing about Muslim cultures real quick. There's a reason. The reason they didn't evolve to be that way. They did not evolve to be that way.
Hang on. I'll get to that, bro. I'll get to that in a second.
Those things have developed over the past 2,000 years. It's a very recent thing.
Let me ask my very, very serious question.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. It's a two-part question. So first part is, have you ever had a religious experience where you feel like God communicated with you or spoke to you or anything like that?
Me personally?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All the time, yeah.
Okay. So here's the part two to this. What if during your next spiritual experience, God said, Andrew, I want to tell you it's okay to fuck corpses. Would you actually change your perspective on fucking corpses?
No, that would go against the ontological nature of God. So God's nature is unchanging. So his very ontology is to be an unchanging, unvarying personification. In fact, that question proves the demonic. So I would know that it was a demon because, or a demon who was trying to tell me to do X thing, because I would know that the ontology, that God would never ask me to do such a thing.
But Andrew, we can make so much money on the OnlyFans.
There's
a market for these fucking corpses.
Wait.
How all the good ones are buried.
How does God talk to you? Like, what has he said to you?
Well, I can think. Right? So I can think and I have a consciousness. If I can think and I have a consciousness and I understand that there's a mind, then the thoughts that come into my head that I think are not my own, especially when I'm in prayer, I think that would be a position of God communicating with me. Yeah.
How would
you think that you hear other voices in your head that are not yours?
You don't hear other voices in your head, bro? Are you one of those people with no internal dialogue?
I hear my own inner monologue.
Okay, so you hear other voices? Okay, that's great.
I hear my inner monologue. It's not an other voice.
How do you know that your inner monologue is your voice?
Because I can control what it says. I can say.
How do you know your inner monologue?
I don't consider
that's not my question. It's not my question. Listen to my question. How do you know your inner monologue is your actual voice? Can you hear yourself?
I can say whatever I want it to say.
That's not my question.
And
can you hear yourself, like your voice? Your own voice, can you hear it inside of your own head?
Your physical voice has nothing to do with your thoughts.
So how do you know then? So how do you know if you can't hear your physical voice in your head that it's actually you?
Because if I want to think right now, I fuck a corpse, I can think it. And it'll say that in my head,
How do you know that that's you thinking it?
Because I can control it.
How do you know that that's you controlling it?
Because I can. What do you mean that I know that it can controlling it? How do I know
Don't
that
ask
what
me a
you're
question,
saying right
answer
now
my
is your
question.
own controlling it?
Well, I don't know how you would know that. That's my question to you. How do you know that that's actually your voice?
I'll answer it with your own way, with your own answer. You know, you wouldn't know that. There's no way to know that, obviously.
Right. There's no way for you to know that. So then your earlier claim of that for sure that's you telling you to do this thing is false. Fucking idiot.
Okay, so if you pray to God and you decide, if you pray to God and you decide, if I start a prayer right now, if I pray to God right now and I decide to think something abhorrent, is that God telling me that?
We're done. We're done, dude. It's done. It's already done. Move on.
Done?
Next caller.
Wait, what's done? We're not finished. We haven't finished the point.
Okay, go ahead. Restate your question. We'll do it again.
So if I were to be praying right now and I thought about a demonic thing, something you'd consider demonic, is that God telling me that thing, or it's a demon telling me that thing, or is it me thinking that up to myself?
Don't you understand what just happened? You just admitted that you don't actually know if the voice in your own head is your voice or not, and then you're going to question me on how I know it's demonic or not.
I do know that. You are admitting you don't know that.
Okay, so
you're unsure if you actually control your own thoughts.
Fair enough. We'll do it again. You're sure then that that's your voice?
I don't have to have a necessary reasoning for why I know for a fact that it's my voice.
Okay, well then, if you have no argument for
it's my voice,
if you have no argument,
it's your voice. How do you know that it's God? Wait. Okay, wait. I'll just use your own argument against you. So when you're praying to God and you hear these thoughts,
you don't know for sure it's your own voice again.
When you're praying to God and you're hearing these thoughts that you consider holy, how do you know that they're God?
Do you know what the logisme is?
No, I don't know anything about religion.
I know. All right. So I
don't waste my time educating myself on nonsense.
You don't waste your time educating yourself on everything which influences politics, policy, the human behavior.
It influences politics in the worst ways for the past 2,000 years.
Okay, so let's go back to the logisme. I'll explain to you what it is. Logisme is an example in orthodoxy. And what it's stating is that most of the thoughts that you have probably are not your own thoughts, right? You can have a distinguishing factor
according to what?
I just told you what it's according to. What do you mean?
According to orthodoxy. So why should I have any reason to accept that?
Well, we were just going through that earlier because of transcendental categories. Do you want to go through why you should believe in orthodoxy?
No, I don't care. Why should I believe in this one specific doctrine?
Why are you asking
why should I believe in this one specific doctrine that's telling me something that is borderline what most psychologists would consider schizophrenic?
You're not listening, and I'm trying to explain it to you. I'm trying to answer your question.
Well, you're trying to tell me why I should believe that my own thoughts aren't my own.
You said that yourself.
Most people, I'm just telling you from my perspective and from most normal people's perspective, that would be crazy. That would be something that you'd hear in a mental ward, right? I know for a fact that those thoughts aren't my own, according to the logisme. According to the logisme, I know the thoughts we're thinking.
How do you know? You don't even know what the logisme is. Tell me what the logisme is. You don't even know.
I'm just telling you an example.
You're just telling me that you don't know shit about nothing.
I'm repeating it to you so you can hear the ridiculousness of the statement that you're making.
What is the ridiculousness of the statement that I'm making?
I'm just repeating it to you so you can hear it. I don't need to explain it to you. You can hear it for yourself. I don't need to explain to you. If you lack the contextual comprehension to understand why that's a ridiculous statement, then I mean, I don't need to be your third grade teacher to explain it to you. But
so just say I have no argument. Just do that.
So you're saying if someone told you that the thoughts they were hearing were from some random god that had nothing to do with yours, you're going to assume they're just some normal person, and that's according to the logisme. That's why they're hearing those thoughts.
No, that's not my position. Tell me my position.
No, I don't need to tell you your position. You can explain your position to me.
Okay, so you don't know what my position is. So why are you arguing?
You tell me my position.
Your position is that only schizophrenic people or people who have no internal monologue wouldn't know that they have their own internal monologue. That's your position.
No, I never said only schizophrenic people. I said what you said right now. If I told that to a psychologist, they would consider that to be schizophrenic, or I would consider that to be something I would hear from a schizophrenic.
So then I was right.
I didn't say only schizophrenic people would have that position. No, you weren't right because
so who would have that? So who would have the? If you say only schizophrenic,
there's a huge bucket. There's a huge bucket list of psychological disorders.
This isn't a conversation. You just won't shut up. You have to shut the fuck up, or we can't have the conversation.
I have to respond to what you say.
Yeah, but how long does it take you to finish a point? Like, should I get a timer? Should we have Alex do 30 seconds? Let's do that. Otherwise, you just filibuster. You don't say anything.
I do want to wrap up very soon, so let's just get to like final points.
All right. Well, here's my final point. My final point is this whole panel got blown out by me with ease again, and it was simple. But to be fair, the only reason is because all of you are fucking stupid and I'm super smart. Other than that, there's no other reason for it, really, right? But that's what happened.
Or maybe you're just normal and we're super stupid.
Can I have a question?
I love this guy. This guy's a fucking G. By the way, it's a joke. He's the only one who got the fucking joke. Only guy.
Yo, I got a real question for you.
I got the joke. That's why my response was just like doing the slow nod instead of.
So Andrew, what Bible do you think is the right Bible to read? I mean, it's a real question, and I don't know much about the Bible. I've never read it, but do you think there's a right?
Well, it's
version?
according to
My understanding
Logisme,
it's
he
been
knows which
changing. Hey. Over
the thing he doesn't know what it is. The thing he still doesn't know what it is, but quotes at me. So funny. What if the Logisme just meant people with blue eyes? Like you wouldn't know. You wouldn't even know.
According to Clausme, I know why that rape is good.
All right. Well, I mean, according to your name is Sweetie Todd. There's nothing coming out of you that's ever going to be serious anyway. Anyway, back to you, based Oracle.
It just sounds like you don't have a legitimate retort to what I'm saying.
I gave you an excellent argument.
Every time we actually debated, your retort was, "Wow, you're really stupid. You have no response."
No,
and then you ended the debate by saying, "Wow, this debate is over." So you have no retort to what I'm saying.
How many more arguments do I need to give you?
If you don't have a retort to what I'm saying and you have to resort to ad hominem,
you do is filibuster.
You're not as good of a debater as you think you are, though. I hope
I
you realize
beat the
that.
holy tar out of you, and it was easy.
I've said the same things to people, and it doesn't actually work. I hope you realize that doesn't actually work, and it doesn't change people's.
Bro, it was bad. It was bad. It was, especially the evolution was fucking horrible. Cringe even. It was cringe, dude.
Specifically which point?
It was cringe. You said that people didn't evolve to have religion and then retracted it and said they did. You're so fucking stupid. It's unbelievable.
I actually said specifically religion is something that, well, specifically monotheistic religion is something that we've developed over the past 2,000 years.
So we didn't evolve for monotheism?
Well, evolution hasn't really happened over the past 2,000 years.
So what if we didn't evolve from monotheism? We only are monotheists due to the things.
We have been for a majority of human civilization. We have been pagans.
And let me finish my question. You don't even know what I'm going to say.
Of human
he doesn't even know what I'm going to say. You're still filibustering. You're still spurging.
I need to respond to what you're saying.
You're still spurging.
Okay.
Still spurging.
All right, I think what we should do is I'll be having a separate debate between both of you. Let's let Tarif ask his question. Go ahead, Tarif.
Okay.
Whoa. What about me?
Oh, sorry.
You just asked your question about what.
I know he didn't answer it yet. He didn't answer it yet.
All right, fine. Let's let him answer that, and then we'll let Tarif and then we'll sign off.
Oh, okay, nice.
It was about the Bible.
Yeah. So I would start with the Orthodox Study Bible, and it'll give you a reference point for why each and everything and the source for why each and everything inside of that reference Bible is true. That way you can do the research yourself. So I would start with that, start with the Orthodox Study Bible, which has the citations so you can go to the source.
Okay.
Tarif?
Orthodoxy.
Oh, yeah, okay. For the most part, Andrew, I agree with your worldview that we should be religiously pious and that we should, for the most part, abstain from pleasures, and we should, be more devoted to God and devote ourselves to certain works, whether it be in a Christian way or Islamic way or Judaic way or Hindu way or Jain way. You get the point. But the question is, what about indulging or rather involving ourselves in pleasures, at least in moderation? Is that a good?
Well, I don't think that pleasure is evil or bad.
Right.
I'm not some kind of like Puritan, man. Orthodox aren't Puritan. Like I enjoy having a drink, for instance. I take great pleasure in that. I smoke. I take great pleasure in that too. I don't think that that's what hedonism is, though, is experiencing pleasure. I experienced a lot of pleasure with my wife. I'm sure a lot of you guys out there experience pleasure with your wives, things like this. That's not really hedonism. Hedonism would be saying that the greatest amount of pleasure is what makes the thing moral. That's the problem.
Yeah, Tarif, a little corpse sex is okay in moderation, but you don't want to overdo it. You don't want to be at the cemetery every night.
That's not the argument. What's the argument that I made was not moderation. I didn't make the argument for moderation. I made the argument that saying that maximum pleasure is what makes something moral is incorrect. Not that moderation is moral. That's not the argument I made, Alex.
Okay. Not too much corpse sex. I got it.
No corpse sex.
No. Who the fuck is going to become a fucking Christian with no corpse sex? I mean, that's like the best thing about life.
I don't think any of you degens will.
So that's not a good selling point.
I don't think any of you degens will.
I just indulge myself in pleasures in moderation.
It's like a little bit of corpse sex, right, Tarif?
I don't know about that.
Well, I think temperance is a virtue. That's true. So I think moderation is good. And I think an absence of moderation leads to evil and leads to things that I would consider immoral for sure. Absolutely. But just the idea of like pleasure in and of itself or pain in and of itself being moral or immoral just based on the quality of what they are, I think is incorrect.
That's true, yeah.
I would actually agree with you on that one. All right. Anyway, guys, I do want to wrap up because we're going for 2 hours and 20 minutes. I thought it was a fun stream.
Hey, thanks for having me on, guys. I appreciate everybody on the panel, even the guy who left. I know that when we get into blood sports, it's brutal and this type of thing, and there's the entertainment element. But I do appreciate everybody in Alex's audience and Alex and everybody on the panel for allowing me on this evening. I appreciate it very much.
Yeah, for sure. Do you want to plug your channel real quick?
Yeah, my name is Andrew Wilson. I'm the host of the one and only Crucible, the fastest growing debate channel on YouTube. My alternative channel is the Crucible Limited. We host all sorts of different content on both channels. Appreciate Alex again having me on. I know that there's a lot of people in this audience who do enjoy watching the debates, even if they don't necessarily agree with me. And I appreciate that too.
Yeah, thanks everyone for joining. Thanks everyone who came on the panel. We'll be back tomorrow night with a pretty big panel, so stay tuned for that. And yeah, I'll see you guys then. Take it easy. Appreciate y'all.
Take care, man. Have a good day.
Later.